Every experience that I've had in my life, it's always been with the intent to learn. Show up and give the best of you to whatever it is you're doing.
Welcome, everybody, to Nashville Drummers Podcast, episode 56.
Today's guest is Corey Boise. He's the drummer for the band Digital Brains and Critter Brain, and he's also the manager of the Titans Blue Crew Drumline. Tighten up, baby.
That's right. Hell yeah.
First weekend of NFL football.
Let's go. Get ready.
What are you rooting for, Nate?
I just hope that both teams have a great time.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. And
doesn't watch sports.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
That's fair.
right. I'm trying to change. but
don't change.
But I'm not trying to change. Our boy is passionate, intense, and opinionated, and I love having people like that on the podcast. It's so much fun. We had a great time talking to him.
Yeah, Corey, I mean, he came right in and he was like, listen, I'm not your typical Nashville drummer. And we want to interview diverse people, diverse backgrounds, and people that are not just doing, typical country or even rock or even pop artist gigs. Corey's someone who knows who he is. He's not afraid to be who he is. You'll see him with the blue mohawk if you go to a Titans game. He is the face of that organization for sure. But it was really interesting hearing Corey's perspective on moving here. He's kind of been in Nashville longer than some of our guests. He's seen a lot of the change. And he has some good advice, too, for just young people moving here that it's not all glory, and you have to really be prepared for failing and dealing with a lot of shit.
True.
Yeah, and he was not afraid to share his own journey with us, and I really appreciated that. He's a big drum corps background. We go into his experience with drum corps and how that also led to the Titans Blue Crew Drumline. This is a wide-ranging interview. We cover making drumsticks. We talk about his time auditioning for Blue Man Group and mental health awareness as well.
We hope you enjoy episode 56.
Welcome, Corey Boise, to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So glad to have you. So I first met Corey 2021, back in my Titans drumline days. Got to rep the Blue Crew.
Tighten up.
That's right. I only did one season, so I guess, am I considered an alumni at that point?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm stoked to learn more about your journey, because I kind of just know you, obviously, through that organization, through more of a performance lens. I don't really know your entire background. Where do we want to start? How long have you been in town?
Geez, my family moved here in 93.
93.
My dad is a musician, and he just couldn't make money. I'm from Vermont originally.
Okay.
So the music scene in Vermont is just nothing like it is here. So my dad had the opportunity to make more money as a musician if he moved down to Nashville. So he moved down about 6 months before the family did, so he can get a house, and he was playing with the band and kind of got established playing in the like the Opryland theme park.
Yeah.
Like that was like a rotating scene, kind of like Broadway is now. So he was a part of that. And
was he also a drummer?
No, he's a bass player.
Bass player, okay.
Bass player, guitar player, keyboard player, producer, recorder.
Damn.
Like he just...
So that's where you got it from?
Yeah. There's always been a home studio in my house.
That's
like
sick.
I just can't remember a time where I didn't walk into my
Did your
dad's
mom
studio.
play as well?
Nope, not at all. Not a lick, doesn't care. She sang on some jingles in like the 70s with my dad,
okay,
and those are pretty awesome to have. But she's just kind of been supportive with that. So we moved down here in 93, and then my dad was just busy doing that. And then when the theme park went away and they built the hotel, the same kind of thing happened with all the bars in the hotel. That was kind of the scene, aside from Broadway. So he was kind of a part of the Rat Pack of the Opryland hotel scene. And my brother, he's 3 years older than me, but I remember my dad would take he and I to Opryland theme park, and we would run around the theme park while he's playing gigs during the day. And then whenever they built a hotel, like we would go spend, a Saturday if my dad was playing 3 gigs or something, we would go and be a part of that and just kind of run around like the Cascades. And oddly enough, Jim Varney.
You guys loved that as kids.
Jim Varney?
Jim Varney was friends with one of the guys in the band.
Who's Jim Varney?
Ernest.
Like Ernest Scared Stupid, Ernest Goes to Jail.
Is that a movie I haven't seen?
Movies. You need to see.
You know this.
Jim
Why are you
Varney.
surprised?
Jim Varney was a national freaking treasure.
Yeah.
You need to watch.
Okay.
Hey,
Hey, I'm right here.
Halloween's coming up.
Is it?
Kind of. It's sort of.
Enough.
It's coming up enough.
To celebrate.
It's the next,
Sure.
it's
Yeah,
the
well,
next
by the
big
time
one.
this is out,
It is.
yeah.
It's the next big one.
Okay.
And so in that way, it's up to bat. I want you to watch Ernest Scared Stupid come Halloween time.
Can we watch it together?
Yes, we can. We
Yes.
can, Dan,
okay.
because I love that movie.
I want to be there.
Jim Varney,
Yeah, we could all watch it.
Chef's Kiss, hilarious.
But he like babysat us.
Yeah.
No fucking way.
Yeah.
That rules.
So like we would run around the Cascades and play like hide and seek and tag with Jim Varney while my dad was playing at the bars in Opry Lane Hotel. Yeah. And we just called
You're
him Uncle
ruining
Jim.
Nate here with this story.
This is
Yeah.
there.
Hey, I thought your back was hurting. You're like all over the
nothing
place
that
now.
anyone you
You're
don't
fixed.
understand.
Doesn't hurt anymore.
It doesn't
Nothing
hurt,
that
yeah.
anyone has ever said on this podcast has made me go I would just fanboy out.
I can tell.
If I met Jim, God rest his soul. But if I met him while he was alive, I'd be like, Jim Varney. I love that guy.
Yeah.
And I had no idea who he was until later in life.
That's awesome.
But he was just Jim. Yeah. He always wore baseball caps so no one would recognize him.
He's just the guy that does funny voices and runs
Yeah.
around with us.
Hilarious.
That's awesome.
But so like that's
Wow.
I was just kind of always around that. And
Yeah.
at the time, all the guys from Garth's band were playing in that circuit with my dad's when they weren't on the road with Garth. So my dad got to play with all these heavy hitters in that scene. So it was just kind of I don't want to say like I grew up in it, but I kind of did.
You did, yeah. Sounds like it.
You know,
Yeah.
just seeing it, you know, on the lowest level bar gig kind of scale, you know, it was just what everyone did when they weren't on the road and they were bored. Same way they kind of do it now downtown, where if they're not on the road, they'll pick up Broadway gigs and stuff like that.
100%,
You know,
yeah.
it's been
never
happening
ends,
down
yeah.
here forever.
So
like
were you
that.
expected as a young, how old were you about when you moved?
8?
You were 8. But so was that kind of expected for you to sort of follow in that
Nope.
music entertainment world? Or
It was never pressured.
Yeah.
My dad's cousin, when I was 3, gave me a blue Ludwig Vistalite kit.
Nice.
Yeah. My first kit when I was 3 was a blue Ludwig Vistalite.
See, we didn't even have to
What
ask
in
this
the
time.
world?
You just said it.
He just skipped right past all the intro stuff and was like,
Dude,
check
no
out
wonder.
this.
Okay, we're gonna get into Corey's extreme love for like drums and.
I won't tell you what I did to him
Yeah.
as a young kid because the move from Vermont to Nashville cracked the shells, the humidity. So when that happened, we had to my dad got little pieces of metal. We screwed them in to brace them back together.
So that's where it started.
And-
I was gonna
yeah.
say like your love for not only drums but sort of the teching behind it, or just like the craftsmanship.
Taking stuff apart,
Right.
fixing
Yeah.
stuff, repairing.
Exactly.
You know, and then so I've always played drums. And then when we moved down here, my older brother became friends with some neighborhood questionable characters.
Rapscallions.
And they started getting into punk.
Yeah.
And of course, me being the younger brother I was going down the same path.
Yeah.
So when they started getting into like the Misfits and shit like that was my introduction to that world when I was like 9. And then when I was 10, I joined my brother's punk band.
Sick.
So I started playing. I recorded my first record when I was 10 at my dad's studio in our garage that he had built.
Yeah, yeah.
And I started playing at Lucy's Record Shop on Church Street. It's been long gone, but it was the only all ages punk rock record store and music venue that Nashville had.
What?
And it was like
That's insane.
where I grew up. I started playing down there at 10 years old.
An all ages punk rock
Record store.
record store. Wow.
It was the shit. I mean, you talk to anyone who grew up in the scene here, and you talk about Lucy's, and then after Lucy's, it turned into IndieNet, and then it went away. It's been gone for probably 20 years.
Well, it's funny because we just had Tyler Bronson Smith on. I don't know if you know Tyler.
I don't.
He's been in Nashville probably longer than you. So he's, we had a good chat about a lot of those changes and, venues that no longer are here, of course.
Oh man, I grew up doing BMX too, and I used to ride my bike all around Nashville. And I mean, we had, all the spots that we would hit that had wall rides and rails to grind and stuff. And dude, all that shit, it's I don't recognize any of it.
Yeah.
Even like where 328 Performance Hall used to be, which was a big concert venue. It's where I saw like my big bands, like all the legendary punk bands that came through Nashville that would play 328.
Yeah.
And that's like
Who are some of the groups that you saw there?
oh geez, I saw the Misfits on the American Psycho tour when they came back out in the 90s. The Descendants, H2O, Less Than Jake, Bad Religion, Typo Negative.
Whoa.
Oh yeah. I saw Peter Steele get hit in the head with a beer bottle and it's like break, and he didn't phase at all.
Damn.
He just kept going.
That's
and
punk.
I mean, I was like 15, so to me that was like he was a fucking superhuman, like superhero.
Yeah.
But I mean,
let's be clear. If you do that, you are a that's superhero shit.
He's just like, drinking his wine. Just kept going. I was like,
it's probably the alcohol helped numb the pain, right?
I was numbing a lot for that guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I would have all these weird experiences. Like my girlfriend that I had in high school would get mad at me all the time because I would end up backstage at these shows in just weird circumstances and like get to watch these bands I idolized from the side of the stage, or just weird stuff. Like when the Misfits came through, me and my buddy, it was a 18 and up show. And we bought tickets at Kroger, at Ticketmaster, and they sold them to us. They didn't ID us. So we get to the show, and they wouldn't let us in. And we were like, fuck, dude, it's the Misfits. Like, no, this isn't going to work. And I was like, you know what? Let's just go around the back and hang out. And he was like, why? I was like, just let's go. So we walked around the back where the door was. There was a little alleyway where they had like an RV. And we're standing there, and the Misfits, like, Jerry Only, Doyle, Mike, like they're all putting their makeup on and we're watching them do it. Yeah. And it's just like, are we allowed to see this?
Like right. Surreal moment.
And then their crew were like, what are you guys doing? And I told them what happened. And they were like, hold on.
No way.
Went on the RV. Jerry Only comes out and gives us Fiend Club backstage passes to wear, signed by them.
That's quite the upgrade.
Yeah. And he was like, man, that's fucked up, dude. And like gave them to us. I'm getting goosebumps remembering it. Cause like, yeah, like your idol.
You go
like,
from not getting allowed into
to
backstage
watching the Misfits backstage play.
Insane.
Just weird stuff like that would happen to me all the time. I used to piss off
what a story.
my friends and girlfriends.
God bless them. That's insane.
And dude,
awesome.
I have so many more stories like that. That would be a separate podcast.
Dude.
But
we'll have to have you back on and just go over those stories.
Weird show
Concerts.
stories.
Yeah.
Warped Tour, like ending up hanging out backstage, like with NoFX and stuff at the Warped Tour in 2000 and like Rancid and stuff. Like just because like my buddy became friends with the guys from Newfound Glory when they came through town before they blew up. Yeah. And their bass player was looking for some weed. And my buddy was like, oh yeah, I can get you some weed. And they exchanged numbers.
That really is just like
that
gets you right in there,
right? Yeah. And like we hung out with Les and Jake that night, became buddies with them, and then whenever they would come through town, he would call us and be like, "Hey, we're playing the Warped Tour. We need some weed." And my buddy would be like, "Hey, we're going backstage at the Warped Tour."
Yeah.
And we're just hanging out like in the back where they have all their buses in the parking lot and stuff. Dude, I got to smoke a joint with the bass player for Sublime.
Dude,
just weird stuff like that.
God.
Like the Hippos, the old punk band, the Hippos, like hanging out with them on their bus and seeing the dudes from NoFX like riding bicycles in the parking lot when a thunderstorm came, and they're just like, oh, there's lightning. And we're like, that's fucking Eric Melvin from NoFX. Just weird stuff.
Yeah.
But that was like
a different time, right?
Yes.
That shit doesn't really happen now, does it?
No. I mean, I don't know. It might. I hope it does.
Yeah.
I hope
to some degree,
does. It's just changed. I mean
maybe like small underground shows, but I feel like a big show that's not happening.
I don't know.
But also, back then there wasn't like the punk scene was very different from anything mainstream.
Right.
So most dudes going to a punk show aren't getting their phones out when the dudes are like getting off the bus to come say hi to fans.
Yeah. If they had
it's just not, they don't give a fuck about that. So it's quite a bit different, but I still like have faith that scene still kind of has that kind of like open door for their fans as opposed to like mainstream artists and stuff where, I mean, if I was a mainstream artist, I'd be terrified to say or do something that gets you canceled.
Yeah.
Or
exactly.
tarnishes your reputation just from like, I mean, you know what it's like to just be having an off day and then you do something that gets filmed and gets released all over the place and you're automatically that forever.
Speaking of,
now.
I don't know how this podcast hasn't been canceled yet. But
oh, dude.
We're close.
I'm imminently
This
canceled.
could be the one. This could be the one.
Maybe.
No pressure.
I say shit that's real.
Yeah.
No,
I don't
that's
sugarcoat it.
dude. So, I mean, as a kind of a transition, you know, we were sort of talking beforehand. I mean, you said this yourself. You're not the typical Nashville drummer.
No.
Which, I mean, kind of the whole point we started this show is to highlight a diverse background of drummers in the city, not just your typical country drummer, or to put it to a genre. You know, so I want to talk about that with you, like your kind of what you mean by that and like what you're up to. And because you're in a few punk rock bands in Nashville, I want to definitely get into the Titans Drumline. That's like a huge thing. Obviously, I want to discuss.
That's a cool one.
So yeah, man. I mean, transitioning into you being here, growing up.
Well,
what does that look like for you?
I pretty much what really changed me as a player was my buddy making me join marching band. When I was a freshman, it's funny. I played trumpet in a ska band. I didn't know how to play trumpet. They just gave me a trumpet.
Band, so, yeah.
That's okay. You can't really play the trumpet. It's impossible to play. There's only 3 buttons on it.
It's horrible.
Buttons.
But I was entertaining because I would just dance around and sing backups. But my buddy played drums and he was like, hey, you know, I'm in the marching band. You should do this. And I was like, no, it looks hard. And he was like, I'm picking you up. You're going to, like, you're doing it. And that's how it happened. And I joined marching band my freshman year. And I was like, I grew up super ADHD. But being from Vermont, like, the only thing at the time you could take was like Ritalin.
Yeah.
And it was like my parents were hippies and they were like, fuck no, we're not going to medicate you. You just have energy. So
because
I struggled.
Ritalin, for those who don't know, is chemically nearly identical to methamphetamine.
Yeah.
Which is crazy that it was prescribed to children. That's like insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like my focus was hard and stuff. Like math I was always bad at. And then when I joined band and I learned that drums it's math. When I learned that rudiments and rhythms and the breakdown and related it to like a math equation, math all of a sudden wasn't hard for me anymore.
Right.
It was like the thing that I needed that and the discipline.
Yes.
And I was like, I want to be really fucking good. Like I want to be better than everybody. So, and it just, because I was playing punk, I was playing really fast stuff. And I would always like play to other bands' records in my drum set in my room. And it was all like really fast, no effects stuff. And so I had really fast hands and really fast feet. So my freshman year, I played top bass because I was like, 100 pounds and this is new.
Yeah.
Well, very quickly I moved to quads. And when I went to quads, it was like, oh, this is where it's at.
Yes.
Like
a lot more math going on.
yeah, like snare's cool, but like there's no melody. It didn't interest me at all. I was like, that's lame. Those are the quarterbacks. Fuck the quarterbacks.
Yep.
I want to be the wide
It's a cool
receiver.
analogy. Yeah, you're the one scoring touchdowns.
Yeah. It was like,
Yeah.
so, and I couldn't read music. I still suck at it. And man, I mean, I marched drum corps I marched drum corps for 4 years, 5 years of indoor, taught drum corps for 3 or 4 years, and I suck at reading music. But when I marched, like I had this quad tech who was
you're better than me. I'm just going to say that.
No, who cares? My quad tech was a metalhead. He was a like Iron Maiden, just death metal drums. Like that was his thing. So he learned real quick that I couldn't read. And so he taught me how to hear the melodies. And that's how I learned. So I'd learn everything by rote. So I couldn't, if I looked at the paper, I would get overwhelmed as if I was looking at a math problem.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, just listen to it once and then look at it. And when I learned the melody and I saw what it looked like on paper, I could memorize it super quick.
Yeah, see, that's interesting. I feel like reading music is definitely an essential skill, but not, maybe not. Because like it's, like you said, it's all about memorization, right?
Well, I mean,
because when you're doing drum corps, there's no music. When we're performing gigs, there's no sheet music.
There's not, but like
it's a good place to start. But
like if you can't read music, you don't make the line,
right?
So
yeah, those auditions.
That was a big terror for me. Auditioning for drum corps and then auditioning for indoor was, if they put something in front of my face, I'm done. Like because I can't do it.
That's what. So I want to know. Okay, we're heading in that direction, and I want to experience the ramp up when you get to that point. When how the fuck do you surmount being like, oh, I'm not a super strong reader. They are going to probably put something in front of me, spur of the moment, and I'm going to probably have to hit it. I want to see. Tell me how you got around that.
Well, luckily, what happened was we didn't have, like when I auditioned for Mystique, for example, I was a sophomore in high school. It was 2000, and I auditioned for quads. And the only thing that I had learned was the real simple exercises because I couldn't read and figure out like the spree and all the crazy flam shit they were doing.
Yeah.
So when I went to auditions, I was just like, once we got done with the stuff I knew, I was like, all right, I'm just going to use it as a clinic now. And then I just had natural talent that I made the line. But I was 16 and my school had a drum line. And at the time, if your high school had a drum line, you couldn't march an independent line because the schedule was conflicted. So I couldn't do it. I didn't know that I made it until after the weekend. And they were like, oh no, dude, like, can you do it? Can you do both? Like, and I was like, are you, what?
Yeah.
Like, first off, no, this is scary. I'm 16 and you guys are like the shit.
Yeah.
Like, it was very intimidating.
Yeah.
But I made the quad line.
Dude, that's insane.
And then didn't do it. You know, I did my high school line and then
You
I
were
went.
one of the youngest to make the line.
I would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was Josh Nelson still there?
That was his first year.
His first year, wow.
Yeah, I marched 2 years with Josh Nelson on bass.
Yeah.
I've got stories about that.
I'm sure.
But so the following year, I auditioned for tenors again, but I had a broken clavicle because I was doing BMX and there's a big dirt jumping contest. And I was like, all right, you know, I entered it.
Want to jump some dirt?
Yeah, I was like, I was good at that too. And I hit a jump 2 weeks before and I cased the landing. My front tire hit first and I landed like this.
Oof.
It should have killed me. It should have snapped my neck, but it broke my clavicle. So I had like a figure 8 brace on, so I couldn't wear the drums. And dude, I mean, when you play quads, it's lots of movement.
Yeah, it's a lot of motion.
Fucking hurt. It was just the bones were just like.
Yeah.
So I was like, I auditioned anyways.
Gosh.
And I made the quad line.
With a broken clavicle.
Right.
Damn.
But again, I was like 17 at that time, and I was like, this is still really scary because all these other guys are like drum corps dudes, and they're like old.
Yeah.
You know, when you're
it's
17, a
intimidating.
21-year-old looks like a 40-year-old.
Right.
So I was like just intimidated, and I was worried that I wouldn't be able to wear the drums, you know, when we're learning the show. Like, I didn't want to be the guy that was holding everyone back.
Right.
So I went and I was like, I'm going to go play bass instead. So I went and played top bass for 2 years in Mystique. And then I went to drum corps. I went to Phantom Regiment.
Hell yeah.
I didn't want to march quads in DCI because it's fucking heavy and bass drum's easy.
Yeah.
For me, it was easy.
Top bass is, less heavy. I was going to say, forgetting 32-inch basses.
Oh, dude. Like, so I auditioned for
That's
top
heavy.
bass at
Yeah.
Phantom,
Yep.
and the bass tech was like, do you want to play top bass? Are you only a top bass dude? And I was like, luckily I was smart enough to say the right thing. I was like, I just want to be in this. I'll play whatever you want.
Yep.
And he's like, okay, I want to put you on bass too. And I was like, fuck. I was like, damn it, I didn't make top bass. Like, I didn't know that bass 2 was like, that was the drum to play in the bass
arguably
line.
More challenging, right?
Yeah, way more challenging.
More splits and all that.
So I was all bummed out that I didn't make top bass and I had to play second bass. And then.
So you thought it was ranked like one.
Yeah, like, well,
that's
I just
funny.
was like, like I wanted to play, because I wanted to play fast rolls.
You want to be number
like-
one, not number 2.
Yeah, like, like at the time I was inspired by like Blue Devils, and their top bass in Blue Devils. He just played the fastest rolls possible with the snares, and I thought that shit was cool.
Yeah.
You know, I was a kid, I didn't know. And then, you know, I played top bass in Mystique for 2 years at that point. So I was like, okay, I know top bass. Like, that's my drum. I can play all that stuff. I've got fast hands.
Yeah.
And then he put me on 2, and man, I marched 4 years on bass 2 at Phantom with the same top bass guy. We marched 4 years together, top 2, which
You
that
guys
shit
must have
doesn't
been
happen in
tight.
DCI.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was, dude, the only reason why I was as successful as I was in DCI with bass lines is because of the other guys I marched with.
Yeah.
Like, you're not, at that time, it's different now, but in those days, there was no like individual identity.
Yeah.
You were, everything about you guys, you sacrificed your personal whatever to become the strongest unit of people.
Yeah.
Now,
We've heard that
you know,
from,
it's
we've had a
different
few
now.
drum corps guests on. They've all said that.
Yeah.
And I would say that's still the case. Probably not as extreme. like
It's
you're
not
saying.
as much as it was.
Yeah.
And you can see that a lot in the warm-ups. You know, like, it's just a bunch of fucking bobblehead dolls, man. Like, warming up. Like, I get it. Like, this is grooving and it's cool, but just fucking stand still and play. Like, impress me with your skill don't try to sell me on how good you are. Like, show me how good you are by just fucking doing it. You know, and but that's just, it's not wrong. It's not worse now than it was. It's just different.
Yeah.
You know, now everyone feels it as like a groove. Everyone, you know, is being taught that. You know, we're like Roger Carter at Blue Coats.
Yeah, literally brings the drum set
he
out.
plays a drum set out there because he wants those guys to feel how what they're doing is incorporated with just the human emotion of rhythm.
Right.
And that, for me, that was a big part. After I aged out of drum corps and aged out of WGI, it was like, how do I now incorporate everything I learned from this grid mathematical system of playing time and, you know, not being a master of timing, even though I played bass, and then I played quads my last 3 years in Mystique. So I went from bass for 2 years to quads for 3 years.
Yeah.
But it was like, how do I take these exercises and this knowledge of space and how to approach that to drum sets so I at least can use it now, because I aged out. So what the fuck am I going to do with all that time? Like, yeah, I've got medals and cool plaques, but that means nothing to me now if I want to be a professional drummer.
Right. How do I make this a career? How do I get paid for it? And that's,
exactly.
You're in Nashville.
So I was like, I really wanted to go down that road of, okay, I want to be a session player. I want to be a call guy. Like, I've already toured the country for at that time, like 6 years. Like, I've seen everywhere except Alaska and Hawaii.
Yeah.
And it's cool. And I lived on a bus, and it's cool. Like, whoop-de-doo, I want to be the guy that is solid as a rock that can play in the studio, that gets called back and can make a career out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
yes. How did you navigate that?
Well, I didn't.
Yeah. You're still working on it, right?
I mean, no, now I don't give a fuck anymore. But at the time, it was like I forced myself. I knew that, you know, growing up playing punk, that I was, you know, in a very narrow lane.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get called to play punk sessions in Nashville.
Right.
So I would practice to techno. Where I lived helped me a lot, because I lived underneath a Dairy Queen in Mount Juliet.
Nice.
I worked, it was like my first job. It was built on a hill, and underneath the restaurant was an apartment. So when I was marching drum corps, I was renting the apartment that was all underground. So I had a kit set up in there that you couldn't hear ever.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I could practice anytime I wanted. Dude, it was $350 a month in rent with no utilities. And when I would go on tour in the summer, they didn't make me pay rent.
And access to ice cream cones.
Yeah, dude. And because I worked there,
killing Nate.
when
He's done.
Dude, yeah,
We've lost him. We've officially lost him.
I used to. I would have a frozen ice cream cake in my freezer at all times with a fork in it.
Amazing.
And I would just eat it. I would get high and watch a movie, and just with a giant ice cream cake in my lap with a fork, just.
I hate you so much,
dude.
But
$350 a month to live in heaven.
Yeah, it was killer. But what it did for me was it gave me a place where at any time I could practice and be creative.
Yeah.
So I would practice to techno, because I wanted to be able to play, you know, find something that was a long time of the same tempo.
Yeah.
Because what I wanted to do was be able to manipulate where the beat felt on the click.
Right.
Like, I knew I could play in time. That was easy for me. But I wanted to learn how to be able to, like, okay, if I want to lay back on the verse, how do I do that? And then if I want to be on top on the chorus, or vice versa. So I would practice that to techno, just because it was the same monotonous thing for so long. Mm-hmm. So I did that a lot. I'm not going to say I'm good at it, but, you know, no one's mastered that shit. I don't care who you are. But I strive for it. Yeah. And it was like, I would do that, and then I would force myself to play to music that I didn't like. So I would have a radio behind me, and I'd plug my headphones in. I'd be like, I'm going to play country today. Yeah. And fucking hated it. Yeah. But it forced me to get out of my comfort zone.
Yep.
There you go. Yeah.
And then I did the same thing with whatever pop music was on at the time. You know, 107.5, you know, it's like, shit, okay. And then I'd be like, I'm going to play to Maroon 5's first record, Songs About Jane, which, God damn it, that's a great record.
That's a great record.
Like, that drummer, the one album they made with that drummer, and it's phenomenal, his playing on that. So I started really liking that feeling. I'm getting goosebumps remembering how good it felt to get out of myself.
Yeah.
And it forced me to learn how to play different genres, learn patterns. I played a lot to, like, 90s rap. like the Chronic and Doggy Style and shit like that. Which, okay, random note, what makes gangster rap gangster?
You tell me.
Fucking sleigh bells.
Whoa, you're not wrong.
Go back and listen to those records.
What do you mean he's not wrong?
Sleigh bells,
Okay,
dude.
I'm gonna have to listen.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of sleigh bells on those records.
Really?
A lot.
Hey, man, like who the fuck sat there and was like,
Yeah,
hey,
right.
hey, Dre, dude, you know what this is missing?
Yeah.
Some fucking sleigh bells.
They're all probably
it's
high
like
or
sleigh bells
something,
and
right?
not hi-hats a
Yeah.
lot of time.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, go back and you will laugh. Go back and listen to
sure
those
I
two
will laugh.
records, especially the Chronic. Sleigh bells, man.
How do you get the perfect Nashville kick drum tone? It starts with a lowboy leather daddy bass drum beater. This leather-faced beater occupies the sonic space between felt and wood beaters. It's punchy enough to cut through the mix on those 4-on-the-floor barn burners with the warmth you need for slow ballads. Okay, but who plays a leather daddy? Garrett Goodwin from Carrie Underwood's band uses one. Lee Brice drummer Donnie Marple plays a pair. Walk down Broadway any night of the week and you're going to hear one. In Nashville, you can test drive a lowboy beater at Drumbox and grab one at Forks, Drum Supply, or Nelson's. Check out lowboybeaters.com to learn more.
Man, that's such an interesting, such a good advice. I know I'm guilty of like when I'm just shedding or if I'm practicing, I'll put on music that I like, and I won't push myself, or I won't even think to have that thought to like, oh, let me just scroll through Spotify and pick something random, or something that I actually wouldn't enjoy listening to, and you know, see the value from that, right?
The joy of doing it on the radio was like it didn't give you the availability to skip a song.
Yeah,
Right.
Like
really
now,
had to.
you could easily be like, okay, I played a verse and a chorus, I'm not feeling it. Like, it forced me to really learn to play shit I didn't like necessarily.
Yep.
You know, because like, I don't like country music.
Yeah.
I don't like modern country. I like old country.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Shit with some content.
Yeah.
That's what I like. But I knew that if I wanted to make a living, I had to learn how to like that stuff, whether it was going to be a hired guy or a session thing. So it forced me to do it. And I ended up learning certain players and their quirks and, you know, like, oh, that's Shannon Forrest or that's Chris McHugh.
Yeah.
You know, now it's like, you know, there's Near.
Jerry Rowe,
Jerry Rowe, like, or Miles. You fucking whack job, Miles McPherson, but you are a great drummer. He's one of my favorite drummers.
Yeah.
But man, just like you started kind of learning these quirks of these guys.
Yeah.
And now I'm friends with most of them, you know, through separate avenues. But it taught me a lot. It taught me how to, like, it taught me, first off, that I wasn't good at it. That I sucked at playing pop. I sucked at playing hip hop. I sucked at playing country.
Yeah. And isn't that it's kind of a cool feeling when you start doing it and you're like, I may not like this, but I'm not better than it.
Yes.
I'm like, because I'm not nailing this pocket. And that has been my favorite thing,
humbling.
doing the Broadway thing, when I'm like going back and listening to the songs going, oh, if I want to nail that pocket, not that I necessarily have to, because I want to do it different than the record down there.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other thing. But the joy of finding that and going, it's actually, I've been playing it like this, but actually the feel is not quite right. And it would be good for me to learn the feel. Like, that's a great place to learn. Like, even if you don't like it, there's so much to be gleaned from just like you said, get outside of yourself and learn the feel of stuff you may not gravitate toward. And it pays dividends forever.
I mean, I've got a lot. I mean, first off, every experience that I've had in my life, it's always been with the intent to learn.
Yeah.
Like my dad, when I was a kid, he had this sign printed up in his studio. It was like, you know, on computer paper, but because he used to record all the local bands of like all the kids.
Yeah.
And, you know, everyone knew everything already. Well, he had the sign taped up above his mixing board for everyone to see that said, what you learn after you know it all is what's important.
Yeah.
that's cool.
And I mean, I grew up seeing it every single day.
Yep.
And now it's like, that was the most valuable thing written that I've ever had put in my face growing up.
Wow.
And like you're saying, learning a feel, like you don't learn the feel, you have to learn the person playing it. Study the person to then try to recreate the feel. Like, and what taught me that was the guy that I play in a band with, Adam Schoenfeld. He plays guitar in this tribute band, this AC/DC tribute band called Noise Pollution. And It's like a band. It's like a super group. You know, all the dudes are big touring guys, blah, blah, blah. That's like their shtick. And they needed a drummer. And he was like, hey, dude, do you want to do it? I was like, yeah. So they sent me a song list and I went totally down the deep dive rabbit hole of studying Phil Rudd.
Yeah.
And learning his mistakes. I played those songs exactly like he did on the records. I learned, you know, the cymbal crash on count 2 that only happens once, that no one else does too, that was a mistake, clearly, because why else would it be there? But when you, like, and I was one of those guys who's like, oh, that's the easiest job in rock and roll. Phil Rudd, blah, blah, blah. Like, fuck, dude, no. I was so wrong and was humbled so much.
Yep.
And like, that was like going to a university for me, was studying how to play like a dude who was on pills and drunk. Like, that's a hard thing to do. But if he didn't do that,
and drunk feel, man.
Yeah, like, but that's the slosh, the sexiness of what he did in that band. Yeah. Same thing with Bonham. Like, if Bonham was a sober dude, there wouldn't be the same kind of sexiness to what he played. It's just the truth. Like, the dude was educated enough and trained enough, but unfortunately different things played into it. But that led to what made how he played sexy.
Right.
Same thing with Phil Rudd. Ringo. You know, he didn't necessarily have the problems with substance, but he was an unconventional player. The Beatles wouldn't sound anything like that without him. Yeah. Whether you like him or not, like, if you don't like him, well, fuck you, you're wrong. Same if you don't like Phil Rudd, like, idiot, try to play it.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, I know. There are people that pop into my head right away who I know would like bucket that, and I'd be like, but try though. Can, like, do it right now, because I know what it's supposed to sound like, because I listen to those records, and I bet you $1,000 right now you sit down and play.
Nope.
And it ain't gonna come out right.
You have to learn who the person was to try to mimic the feel.
Yeah.
So on all those records, all those crunchy records and stuff, like the early stuff where it really had, when the focus is not on the music, when it's on the vocal and the story being told, the beat is played so much more. It's different because that's not the point of it.
Yeah. Right.
Nowadays, it's just rock and roll with some steel guitar. Nothing about it is what those old songs were. Yeah. Not saying it's bad or it's good. I'm not saying that. It's just different. It's different. Yeah. You can't tell me it's not. But, you know, now beats are put in a grid, and a lot of times the human element isn't there.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's bad. It's just not some brushes on a snare drum that might works enough for the song, but my God, it makes you feel something. Yeah. You know?
So my question is, because you've already shared your background with reading music.
Lack of reading music.
Exactly. So what was your process to deep dive these drummers and learning songs and drum parts?
Play along.
Memorization, just keep playing.
I would listen to the songs religiously, obsessively, and then play along to them on like a practice kit with mesh heads or something. And until I had the stuff memorized, I could sing the parts as I was playing them. And that goes back to how I learned how to do the marching stuff. I would learn the bass melody that we were playing. So I'd be singing the parts we're playing as we're playing them in real time. And I just knew where my part fit. Same with quads. I would learn the melody that I was playing, and even still now, like when doing the Titan stuff, I sing the parts in my head. Yeah. That's just always how it's been for me. And if I hear, like in Mystique, when we would get music, I would just watch the other dudes play as they were learning it. And then I would just go, oh, okay, I got it now. Yeah. And that's how I learned it. I didn't look at the music. I just watched it and then played it, figured it out, and that was it. Yeah.
So hearing the drums, those melodies, and the value of singing. I mean, we've talked about the book New Breed. I don't know if you know that method book.
I don't.
Probably not if you're not into books like that. But a big part of that method book, it involves, just singing back the parts and being able to do that while playing.
Yeah.
And the benefit,
like
huge.
And that all came from my first drumline instructor noticing that I couldn't do it and going, this is what he needs. If I didn't have that guy that did it, that showed me how to just memorize the melody of what you're playing, if I didn't have that, I probably still would have done it, but it wouldn't have been anything close to as easy as it was for me if I didn't have that little bit of knowledge. So now, like when I teach, I taught, say, okay, jump back. So I aged out of DCI in 2005. I got hired to be the bass tech at Phantom in 2006. I was off the road for like 3 days the whole summer. I was on the entire time. I was the drumline visual tech as well. So when I started teaching, I started trying to apply all the things that worked for me whenever I could identify that, like, hey, this guy's not getting something necessarily. All right, I'm going to teach him how to apply that to a drum set part. So it's like, okay, if you're struggling with this with your feet, you know, your foot timing, think about it as in a halftime groove and where your part fits in that halftime groove. I would break things down from this mathematical grid into everything always feeling like, okay, how would you move to this?
Right.
You know, which is what everyone does now naturally, which is cool. But back then it was like, okay, feel that. Don't show me that, but feel that and think about it that way. So I would have the guys, you know, that were super smart, you know, UNT kids studying drums, and they need it mathematically or else they don't understand.
Right.
And then you got the guys that don't understand it mathematically that need it that way. And I was just lucky enough to kind of have both worlds to be able to figure out how to teach to certain people certain ways. And that was that was my gift with teaching. The best teachers
so great is being able to kind of take an individualistic approach.
Yeah, you have to. And man, I'll tell you what, I didn't get good until I taught. Like, that's how I look at it personally. Like, yeah, I was successful, won world championships, super cool, whatever. I don't feel like in my soul I became a good rudimental drummer until I started teaching it. Because when you start teaching it, you are forced to be one step ahead of everybody else. If you see an issue, you have to know how to address the issue and how to give multiple examples of how to address it for whoever needs it a different way. Yeah. So your brain's working so much faster at going through the problem solving so you could deliver something useful for information, or else it's just, they just stare at you, you know, like deer in headlights. But when you say it right and, you know, this guy gets it and then this guy gets it when you say it a different way, you know. So when I started doing that, that's when it was like, oh, fuck, this is cool. You know, and then I started getting good. And then I would apply that to drum set. Like everything that I mean, dude, I would spend hours playing 16th note, one note timing, you know, just 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E. Just playing that 4-2-1 on drum set. Like, there are thousands and thousands of variations of the first exercise you learn as a freshman in high school for marching band. Yeah. The variations you can do, it was just like, it blew my mind that, first off, no one talks about that. Like, no one talks about how to do that on drum set.
Right, because it means you're going from one drum or quads to now multiple instruments.
Like, okay, play this groove, put your right hand on your ride cymbal now instead of your snare drum. Put it on your floor tom. Put your left hand on your hi-hat. Yes. Find the groove in this mathematical exercise, and you are forever going to think about that mathematical exercise with a groove. It changes your whole perspective of how you're taught. You know what I mean?
Yeah, one of my most impactful drum set teachers in college, this guy Blake Fleming. He's one of the original drummers for the Mars Volta.
Cool.
You know that group? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that was his whole thing, is like we would do patterns and I would master them pretty quickly, and then be like, all right. Like, he would try to fuck me up because he's like, well, now move your right hand to the right, or now do left hand lead. And I was righty, so of course it was like, there's, like you said, there's always another layer, another level.
Yeah, right? Like as soon as you think you've got it, all right, play it with the accents backwards.
Or move your feet.
Play it left hand lead.
Your feet, or vice versa.
That's
and then do it with your feet.
Yeah,
you know.
One of the best pieces of advice I ever got. I took a lesson with a guy named Mike Mitchell, who, if you ever check him out, he's unreal. He said what he would do was he would learn a pattern. He would like come up with it and mess around on the pad, and then he would go apply it to the drum set in some way that I like, and then I learn it note for note backwards, and then left hand lead, and then left hand lead backwards, and then he's like, once I did that, then I would mess my kit up. And he goes, I would put
that's the next level.
I would put my kit into bizarre arrangements. He goes, and then I learn it in all of those variations on my new kit, so I always have access to my vocabulary. I was like, that's insane. I love that.
And then even take the click and put it on quarter notes. Put it on half notes.
Yeah, exactly.
Put it on whole notes.
That's fun. That'll really test your timing.
Yeah. You can get more with it. I mean, it's once you start going like, all right, I'm going to put the click on the E. Like that's just stupid shit that doesn't happen. Like that's cool that you can do that, but that's not useful if you want to be a professional musician. Like it's just not. But
would you say the ands are useful?
Yeah,
is there a variation? Yeah.
Well, so
I've done all that. I feel like it is.
Have
useful,
you gone to the studio and the producer was like, "Hey, we're going to give you upbeats for the click track"?
Well, no, of course not.
Like no.
But you're that much tighter, maybe having done those variations.
I'll push back. I think it is useful, but it's not something you're going to use in that way at all. I think the point of it is to flex a certain muscle harder.
It's like going to the gym.
I don't mean it's not useful in terms of your personal development. I mean it's not useful for the practical application of being a professional drummer, whether you're hired to play with a band or you're going to the studio.
Right. You're never going to be challenged with that on the spot. That's correct. Yeah.
I completely separate those two worlds entirely. You know, if I was, for example, doing stuff that's just kind of weird, like you're saying, moving the kit around and stuff. I played in a cover band for about 7 years. It was just a trio. And the guitar player was this dude who went to Belmont, studied drums. Like one of the best drum set players I've ever seen. Dang. But he wanted to be in front because he liked girls more than sitting and playing drums.
Fair enough.
So he wanted to be a front man. And then the bass player like grew up playing in churches. Like his whole life since he was like a kid, his dad was a traveling pastor musician. So he was just like, that's all he knew. And when I joined, it was just, weekend warrior stuff, Fridays and Saturdays. But I remember they were like, okay, we're going to pick you up Friday. And I was like, what songs are we playing? They're like, oh, you'll be fine. I was like, no, like, what do I need to listen to? Because these are 4-hour cover gigs.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, we got about 500 songs we pull from. And I was like, can you tell me any of them? And they're like, no, you'll be fine.
Jeez.
And
yeah, it's like Broadway now.
Dude, that was, for 7 years, that taught me more about listening than anything I've ever done in my life. Because we never played any of the songs the way they went.
Good.
And if we did, it was just fucking boring. Like you got to entertain yourselves at a certain point too. Because most of the, when you start your third set, everyone's had enough drinks to where they don't know who's on stage anyways. And we would do stupid stuff like, we'd be playing Last Dance with Mary Jane and the guitar player would look back and go, swing the chorus. Okay. And we'd do it. And that it would just be this one-time thing and it would confuse all the people dancing and it was just for us to laugh. Yeah. Or we'd play that, that song's like, to the right, to the right.
Yeah.
Well, we would just keep saying the direction. To the right, 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 to the right. And people would just fucking squish against the wall on the right.
So much power you had in that microphone.
Just hilarious shit like that. But
I was just doing some tin roof gigs down just all over and the same thing. We have a ton of fun with it. You have to, right?
Yeah.
It's all cover music. And like we have one talk back for the entire band. All of a sudden they'll just yell in the mic, yo, halftime, chorus halftime. And it's like,
I love,
hell yeah.
I love that kind of spontaneity.
Totally.
It forces you to pay attention.
Yeah.
Sure. And honestly, doing that for 7 years, I mean, it was about as Spinal Tap as you could get, like with our situations. Just that's a like 4-part separate podcast. Those stories, yes. Like getting lost, trying to find stages at venues. But like, I learned a lot from that just listening, like learning, and that's how I learned how to read like the Nashville number charts and stuff. The bass player taught me how to do that. So I took everything like a learning experience.
Yeah.
Like whether I was teaching, whether I was doing stuff with my dad, playing in this cover band, like I always felt like my job wasn't done unless I was learning. And I still feel that way now.
I love that.
With everything that I do, whether it's something like that I've been incredibly gifted at doing, I still don't feel that way. I want to know more. I want to learn more. I want to engulf myself in whatever that thing is. And that's how it was with me with like making drumsticks. Cause I did that for a long time.
Yeah. Let's go there for a bit. Yeah.
I worked at a local drumstick company for 17 years.
Damn.
And one of the things I got to do, because I've always been a woodworker. My grandfather was a woodworker. He built furniture. So he let me play with his scraps of wood when I was a kid and, go to a sander and stuff. So I used to like want to make my own bows and arrows and shit and like tomahawk handles. Cause I was like, I think Indian stuff is super cool. So, but in doing that, like I trained myself at a young age to look at grain patterns and like what makes wood strong, like all the characteristics of that. And that translates to how I approach drums, which is kind of a different thing. But with the drumsticks, it was like making drumsticks and the art of it just was so easy for me because I spent my whole life already being a woodworker. So, I mean, I could look at a pair of sticks and I can tell you everything about that wood that your stick is made out of, where it's going to break, when it's probably going to break, how much moisture is probably in the wood. I could tell you about the plies in it. I could tell you if it's going to be balanced or unbalanced.
Just from looking at it, or like you need to know the model, the brand?
Nope. I know all the ways that you make drumsticks. Yeah. I know the ones that work the best way to make a drumstick, the moisture content the wood should be.
Dang.
I mean, like, super nerd about that.
Yeah.
And like, I used to have a hand lathe at this job where by hand, the old school way with knives, that's how I used to make all of the prototype sticks for signature artists. Like, dude, I got to spend a day with James Gadsden, like making his stick for him while he watched me. I got to do it with like with Near. I made McHugh's, Sheila E.
Dude.
Matt Billingsley.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I would just let myself just daze out there because...
Dude, I spent an afternoon with Vinny. He took videos of me doing it because he's never seen anyone do it, and he was sending it to his wife. Like, look at this motherfucker.
Yeah.
And you're sending videos of Vinny sending videos of you. Look at this motherfucker looking at me.
What I would do is I would set up a practice pad.
That's so good.
Right next to it. So now I would go, okay, you know, based off of what we know your design would be, I would modify it. And then I had this kind of finish that would dry instantly. So I would just rub it on there and then I'd hand you a pair of sticks and you could play on a pad and be like, it's a little front heavy. Okay, let me see the stick. Put it back on, modify it.
Wow, so in real time.
In real time.
That's so cool.
And I would just, people that, I did the same thing with Shannon Forrest. Just that's just what I was good at. I was really good at doing that from woodwork my whole life with balancing and stuff like that. Just that was like it's a stupid human trick that you don't see anyone, like no other company does that. Yeah. Or, you know, they might. I've never heard of it because everyone that I've talked to and that saw it was like they were on the moon for the first time.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things that I did. And like I was really good at it. And a lot of my relationships and friendships that I have now are with those guys because they spent time with a drummer making their drumsticks, and it was a different kind of trust.
Yeah. What was like your favorite part of the process, or what has been your favorite part of, in general, like the stick building process? Is it the beginning? Is it kind of like seeing the finished product, seeing the drummer play it?
The entire thing. And being able to go with confidence, being able to say, this is exactly what you wanted. And I'm going to give you the best piece of wood because I know what that best piece of wood is because I know what it needs to be that.
Yeah.
And you're going to get the best shit you could possibly get every time because I'm in complete control from start to finish of what your finished product is.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't say that's the case anymore. I'm not there anymore. I'm sure it is. The guys that are doing it now were the guys that I had trained when I was there, but they weren't making sticks by hand on a lathe.
Are you still making your own sticks now?
No.
Would you?
I don't have the place at my house for a lathe, you know, to do it by hand, but I miss the hell out of taking a piece of wood, putting it on a lathe and making a stick. Mm-hmm. Like one of my things I grew up loving was like old colonial rope drumming. Mm-hmm. So while I was there, I would make rope drum sticks and stuff just for myself. You know, I was constantly making stuff and modifying stuff just to get better at it.
That's why you're gravitating towards Taylor's Welch tuning drums over there, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You're checking those out.
But just like the whole process of it, you know, taking it from start to finish and giving it to someone and them going, holy shit, these sticks feel great.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm doing it right.
It's interesting. From what I'm hearing, it's kind of like the same way teaching drum corps. It's like that satisfaction of passing something on and having that client, customer, in that case, student reward, you know?
Yeah, it's knowing you're doing something that's benefiting something.
Yes, that's not
it's not just some bullshit thing that you're doing for yourself. Like, you're doing something that's impacting somebody else in a positive way.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
You know, and like, nothing, I don't care what you do, like, that feels great. Like, when I see a kid that I taught in high school 15 years ago, and he's like, man, you were my favorite teacher. It's like, fuck yeah.
That feels good. Yeah.
Good. I hope something that I said and did impacted you the way that I was impacted by my first drum teacher. You know,
Yeah,
but
you're passing it on.
yeah.
You've heard of Drum Supply, but you gotta see their shop. It's a drum shop experience like no other. They're packed with all the gear a working drummer needs, and so many parts, noise toys, and accessories. It's a toy store. Curated cymbals, kits, and snares. The hands-on percussion room is nuts, and their custom shop work is fast and affordable. Andy and the guys know their stuff, and they're ready to help. And the big news? They've just moved to an awesome new location near the corner of East Trinity Lane and Dickerson Pike. Still in East Nashville, just a couple miles from their old spot, the all-new Drum Supply is twice as big, featuring a dedicated cymbal room, a lesson space, and even more drum gear than ever. Go see the new Drum Supply shop for yourself. Now open 11 to 5 at 2211 Dickerson Pike and online at drumsupply.com.
Dude, well, I think that's a good transition if you want to talk more about
Well,
Titans Drumline. And
Yeah. The founder would be Dustin Schletzer
Dustin, okay.
and Carl Epler.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know Carl.
Carl was a Mystique guy, snare drummer, but he was also Mark Snare and SCV.
Okay.
Just a badass human. Very intense, super smart. You just always felt like he was on a different level. But those guys kind of put it together, and I was just a part of the start of it. So it kind of started as like the team was doing really bad at the time. And
What year is this? You remember?
16 maybe?
The Titans were doing bad? That's weird.
Yeah.
Does that
So
ever
they
happen?
wanted something to like get the crowd hyped up. They were looking for some entertainment to make people entertained because the team wasn't.
Yeah.
So they got us to do it. And it was just like, we just called our friends and we're like, hey, we had like a meeting at Father Ryan High School because that's where we were teaching. Yeah. And a group of us through Mystique started the Titans Drumline. And we did it with Mystique because they were sponsored. We could get drums through Pearl.
Yep, there you go.
So we needed equipment that wasn't Mystique's equipment that we could get through an endorsement kind of weird situation because it didn't really exist at that time.
Yep. So
we ran through Mystique. That's kind of where we got our pool of players from. And then
it's a good pool to pull from.
Yeah. There's some
top-notch
guys.
players, you know what I mean?
There's some dudes
versus
that
like just getting high school drummers or, even some of the Nashville drum set drummers. It's not necessarily the same skill set,
Oh man,
you kind of want those drum corps dudes, right?
Yeah, for what we were doing, unfortunately, the Nashville drum set guys, as good as they are at what they do, this just wasn't it.
Yeah.
But
I say that even though I'm more aligned with the drum set guy. I never marched.
Oh, you did a great job.
I think maybe
I
gravitated towards. I think I did top bass, right?
Yeah.
Because that was the easiest in my opinion. It was more like a drum set.
See,
like
that was my train of thought
feel.
when I was like a 16-year-old kid. This is the easiest.
So I can make this groove.
Yeah.
But we were playing some hard shit still.
Man, it's gotten way harder.
It's only gotten better. Yeah.
But so we did it and people loved it, and it's just
what was that first
every
year like? Because and give people some context for anyone that maybe hasn't been to a game in terms of like the tailgating experience in the game, and then kind of what the Drumline is actually involved with.
Well, when it first started, we would just go around and do tailgating. We would hit season ticket holders and stuff like that, and just entertain the people before they went in.
Yeah.
Nice.
We didn't do any inside game involvement. We were just kind of like this thing that was there that we wanted to do ourselves. It wasn't associated officially with the Titans per se. Because before that, like TSU's Drumline, which ironically, I think they were called the Blue Crew as well, they would just kind of do it on their own. And then we started doing it, and then Amy Adams kind of picked up on it and loved us and wanted us to be a part of it more and more. And then
Is she the
she's the owner.
The owner, okay.
Yeah, she's the big shit.
She's still the owner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She's the shit. She's cool. But she loved it. She would come out and drum with us like in the parking lot and stuff
cool.
if she was walking around. Yeah, it was really cool. We always if we saw her, we always made it a point to butter that up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
But it was great. She loved us. And then the fans, to them, it's just like a college drumline. Like they don't know. We're the marching band to the fans.
Yeah, it's more entertainment, especially like tailgating. Drinks are getting drank.
Yeah, like they would
drunk.
they would give us like they'd stuff tip money in our stick bags and stuff. And
that's cool.
we used to have a pool of tip money that we would at the end of the year. It was like, let's go have a party.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
And but
we didn't get that.
No.
But
that
we
all
actually
stopped
got paid now,
whenever
so,
we
yeah.
got, and it was all for free. Like we didn't get paid to do this. It was just for
there you go.
fun
Yeah, that's
for
the
football
difference.
games.
Yeah.
And then it slowly started snowballing to where Amy wanted us to be more a part of the branding of the team. And we had to make a decision where we had to cut ties with the Mystique thing because the Titans wanted to buy equipment so that they could brand it and wrap it with Titan stuff. Because Mystique would use the same drums if they had like an event they got hired to do somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, so they would just go to we had a little storage unit in the parking lot at the stadium that held our drums. And they would go use it if they needed it for a parade or, you know, Tomato Fest thing or whatever random thing. And it sucked for us because we would get like custom drum heads made with Titans logos and then they'd take them off
Oh, that's such a pain.
and never put stuff back on. And it was just,
all messed
our
up.
equipment wasn't treated very well. And also it was in a storage unit in Nashville in the parking lot. So in the summertime, it's like our drums are 5 million fucking degrees and heads are, you know, it's just
Everything's
destroyed
detuned.
everything.
Yeah.
But they wanted to be able to brand it all. So we ended up cutting ties with them. I think that was probably 18 or 19.
So at this point, I mean, so you were in that first line.
Yep.
And you were doing quads?
Quads, yeah.
And are you sort of on like the sort of management staff or like
Not at the time. Nope.
Okay.
I was kind of the quad section leader, if you want to call it that.
Yep. How big was that first line? Do you remember?
It was probably, it might have been like 5'3" and a couple bass drums. I mean, there were some years where, depending on the game, who was available on that Sunday, because a lot of guys too, like because it happens over the WGI season, some of those guys that would do the games were marching WGI or teaching WGI, and they couldn't be there on a Sunday game because they were rehearsing or had contests. So it was like, hey, can you hop off snare and play quads for this game? Because we need more than just one.
Yeah.
You know, it was very like,
Yeah, you make it work.
just whatever grassroots as it could be.
Yeah.
And then we started getting bigger and people wanted to be a part of it. And when we cut ties with Mystique, they bought all their own equipment and they moved us inside and started storing our equipment in the stadium. And then we got hired to be paid employees of the NFL. And you have to go through a very detailed, rigorous onboarding process. The same thing the teammates have to go
Yeah,
through.
you're literally on payroll with the players.
Like drug testing,
kinda weird to think
etiquette
about.
books you got to read for the NFL, like gambling restrictions, like all the shit that you hear about. Like we have to go through that same process when you're onboarded. Drug testing, like advanced drug testing, and then you become an employee of the NFL, an employee of the Tennessee Titans. So they're very, very tight-knit about their brand. Crazy.
Oh, they have to be.
And which rightfully so. I mean, it's the biggest advertising platform on the planet, or not on the planet, I'd say for the United States at least. So
It might be,
it was like, it's even still a little bit like, because we buy our own heads, drums, sticks, nothing is done through sponsorship because there's no like, hey, if we give you drums for free, can we use pictures of these guys for our endorsement or for our publicity? And they're like, no, we're the NFL, motherfuckers. Like, we're not giving you anything.
Yeah.
Like, we're the Titans.
And they have their own photography team. their
Yeah,
own
like,
media teams.
like, so it's kind of like the way the military, like the Marine Drum and Bugle Corps, like they take all the branding off their sticks and drums and stick bags. It's, that's just the way it rolls. Like, we buy our stuff. We're not going to give you free publicity or advertising, so that's kind of how the Titans view it. They're like, we're going to buy everything so that we don't have to follow any kind of contractual restrictions to give you guys any kind of advertising and stuff like that, because this is the biggest advertising platform in the country.
Wow.
Which I understand, they're right.
Yeah.
And they have the power to do that. So even now it's like, we still keep the logos on stuff, but it wouldn't surprise me if at some point they're like, hey, we're going to find out where those stick bags are made. We're going to get our own.
Right.
Or we're going to, we get custom big Blue Crew drum heads made for the bass drums and stuff, so you can't really see the Remo logo, but they could very easily be like, take those off at any point if they want to. But they're pretty chill about it.
Yeah.
I mean, they love us. We're like the least of their problems. This is my 9th season. I'm the only one that's done it the entire time. And me and another guy, Kevin Jankowski, he's been kind of running the manager for the last few years. Once Dustin Schletzer stepped out of the managing position because he got a career and he's busy now, Kevin kind of took it over. And I just always maintained the equipment, just kind of made sure everyone knew, like, this isn't a college drum line. Like, we can't fuck off. Like, you still need to approach it like you're getting paid to play marching drums, which is very new to pretty much anyone that's done marching drums. So it's not a college. Like, we don't drink. We don't do any, like, it's very
professional.
You're professional.
Yeah, which
like,
I
you're
always
paid
appreciated. Yeah.
to do a job.
Yeah.
You know, which can be
It's a
really
balance,
hard
'cause,
for
like,
people.
Because the gig itself is like, you know, at least when I did it, I'm sure it's the same thing. The actual gig is super entertaining and fun. So you have to balance that versus as soon as you step off, very professional. Even just walking through the tailgating, like
when you're there at the stadium in the uniforms, like they get us these cool jerseys that are custom made and really cool uniform stuff. You are representing the team while you are there. Yeah. So they can very quickly just be like, you're done.
Yeah, one wrong move.
You know, you were a dick to that artist that you ran into underneath the stadium.
Yep.
So nope, you're gone. You know, that stuff is, and rightfully
handled.
so. Yeah, it's handled. Yeah. And it's like, you know, I'm kind of the, Kevin and I are kind of a good cop, bad cop. Kevin is, you know, he teaches middle school band. He's very patient and very just like, we'll be okay. Things are cool. Yeah, you know, which is good. And I'm very like, what the fuck are you doing?
Dude, I totally see that.
Play the goddamn part right. You know, like, we're getting paid to do, you know, I'm like, you know, if I get hired for a gig, like, I don't drink. I don't get fucked up. Like, it is a job for me. Yeah. I'm going to show up and I'm going to play the parts exactly how they were recorded, unless you want me to do something different. And it's going to be the best possible version of that I can give you. Yeah. I put way more of myself into that stuff than I should, which I've learned through experiences. So I approach that like, dude, we are blessed to be able to get paid to play marching drums for the NFL.
It's honestly like an unreal opportunity.
Yes.
Like, I remember maybe last year I went to a game and like saw you guys out in the parking lot, and it was like, it's cool to see it grow. Like, every year it seems to be getting bigger. So talk about, so now you guys actually are playing on the field even, right?
Oh yeah. The last like 3 or 4 years, they've incorporated us under the field, or like under the stadium. So we have a room where we call it the cage, where we store all of our equipment. It's right by T-Rex den, where he has all of his cool toys, the mascot, and the cheerleaders, like, locker room. It's all the Titans Entertainment. Like, that's the umbrella we're under. So we're all together and we do a performance usually in the first or second quarter on the field. So, and they've even incorporated miking our drums. So we get there probably, if kickoff's at 12, we get there at about 8. And we get our equipment ready, get in uniform, and then we have to go do a sound check in the concourse where they put all the mics on the drums. They test it through the stadium. We run through stuff. And then after that, we go out into the parking lot and we play for tailgaters. And really anyone we can find, and any group of people, will stop and we'll do our performance stuff. And then before kickoff, we go back under the stadium and they have catered food for us. So we have meals and stuff where we get to eat. They're great to us. And then we hang out until we go do our on-field performance. And then after that, we come off the field, and usually there's either leftover catered food or more catered food. Dessert, and we hang out, and T-Rex Den, he's really great. He lets us like watch the game on his TVs and stuff when he's running around doing the mascot stuff. And then we do a concourse performance, usually in the South Concourse or North Concourse.
Dude, those are always my favorite.
They're fun because they're right with the people. Like, everyone's
you're in the crowd.
Yeah, like we set up and we're all mic'd, so it's pumping through the system. It sounds real cool. And everyone's just like in your face. And it's really just, everyone's having fun. It's really cool. And honestly, the coolest thing for me is like seeing kids. Like, because now we've done it enough to where the kids think we're cool, you know, and like football fans think we're cool. Like the dorky band kids that you grew up with in high school and college, like we're cool now. You know, like we're part of your team.
Yeah.
So but it's just cool.
We're breaking through the stereotype.
Yeah. And like it's kind of funny. A few years ago, I was joking with one of the people in charge of us when we were doing promotional pictures, because we have to, you know, we get credentials that are very like fun, you don't like your credential is your only way into the stadium.
Right.
And I've always had a mohawk my whole life, like since I was 8 years old, on and off. I mean, I couldn't in drum corps, of course, but I always had a mohawk. And I was like, if I dyed it blue and spiked it up for the pictures, would that be okay? And she was like, yes. Because everyone else, you know, wears baseball caps. It's, you know, and so I was like, okay, cool. So I dyed it blue, put it in Liberty spikes for the pictures. And then when she saw the pictures, she's like, every fucking time.
Dude, yeah. That's
every
your
game,
defining
every
image
time,
of
like
the line.
that is your character now.
Dude.
So everybody else wears a baseball hat, and I'm the quad player with the blue mohawk. So, but kids recognize that.
Yeah, fans love it. That's
like
part
fans,
of the energy.
It's like your identity.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And as long as I have hair that I can spike, I'll do it.
Yeah,
for real.
You know,
enjoy it.
But it's like little things like that where we're now. The season ticket holders love us. They request us to come play for them. They translate that to the Titans organization, so the Titans know that we're making their fans happy. So it's just slowly become this really cool integrated part of a game day experience now. And it just every year it keeps getting better and better and better, and they keep getting us to do more and more and more.
And you guys have also done like different events in the city.
Yeah.
There's like a 5K before the season, right?
Yeah, we get hired to do appearances, kind of like the cheerleaders do or the mascot. Like if there's the Kroger's opening up in Antioch and they want some cheerleaders to be there, like they can hire the Drumline. And we get paid a separate price to do appearance stuff than we do game day. And we can
I remember those
go out and do those appearance things.
Those always paid.
It's much
paid
better.
Nice, yeah. Paid well, yeah.
So there's that stuff, because that's really where like the cheerleaders make their money.
Yeah.
Is doing appearances, because there's a ton that they do. And so like
I didn't know that.
Even now, like we get, you know, we're constantly getting continuous appearance gig opportunities to where they might want 7 or 8 drummers. So it's not like a full line, because I don't know how much it costs to do it, but it's got to be a lot. Yeah. And so they'll be like, okay, we need just 8 people that can do it, you know, and everyone on the roster can go, okay, yes or no. And then you're on that appearance and you go to the stadium, you get your drums, get your uniform stuff, you show up to the location, you get paid for travel, you get paid for the appearance, you get paid for travel back to the stadium to put the equipment away. And that stuff happens all the time. Like we do the big 5Ks, we used to do watch parties and stuff when we were in the playoffs.
For the draft.
Yeah, we used to do like the draft thing. When the draft was in Nashville, we did that. The uniform reveals, any big thing that the team does. Yeah, usually we will. Yeah, because we just bring hype. We'll do performances. We just hype every. It's really we're just cheerleaders with drums.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they work way fucking harder than we do.
Yeah,
way harder.
Oh yeah,
like
it's another level.
Just kudos to them.
So the line's set for this year, but for a drummer listening that maybe would want to join next year or in the future, talk about that audition process.
Well, we don't have any social media as the Blue Crew Drumline yet. We're working on it. That's stuff that has to go through rigorous approvals because, again, we're representing an entity of the NFL.
But the cheerleaders do, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's how long the institution of cheerleaders in football has been around is a lot longer than the drums. So,
are you stoked for the new stadium?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks dope.
And like they're building us like our own rehearsal facility, our own lockers.
I might have to re-audition for that.
Yeah, like come on back, Dan. Like this is the stuff that I've been told. I won't really go into more detail, but it's going to be the shit if it actually happens. Which also means that they, as a brand, are taking us way more into consideration as a future branding opportunity for the team.
Which probably is so appreciated.
Dude, I mean, like, I remember showing up to that little storage container in the parking lot in January, because I would get there early and get all the drums set up and tuned. And I'd have to put on like every extra hoodie I can find because I'm freezing my fucking ass off. It's, 7 a.m. in January. And now it's like walking in the stadium. Hey, security. Hey, that's the guy with the mohawk.
Yeah.
Walk on down, say hi to everyone, and
You're wearing your
a coffee and
Titan
breakfast
sweatshirt
made.
probably, and
Yeah,
pants
like
and-
it's come so far, and it's become a really cool thing. But like, to go back to what you were saying, we don't have social media yet.
Yeah.
So all of the stuff for us in terms of like auditioning and stuff, that's through the cheerleaders' social media. So whenever we do, like this past year, you got to follow the Titans cheerleaders social media to see any updates as far as the Blue Crew goes.
And they do post that on the website as well.
Yes, yeah, they'll do it on the website and they'll promote it on the socials.
Yeah.
Through the cheerleaders though.
Yeah.
But usually our audition process it's a couple days. We've integrated like a movement marching part of it, because when we do the on-field performance, we're wearing the drums. So you got to be able to march and play and really move at all with drums on.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a new thing we've added. Before it was just kind of who can move and who can vibe and who can
play the
entertain,
material.
right? Who can play the material. We love having diversity in the drum line. Every year it's like, are you guys going to like, where are the girls, or, where's the diversity? It's like, they just didn't show up to audition. If they showed up and could make it and play stuff, like everyone's welcome.
Yeah.
Regardless of age, color, any of that stuff. Like, come on. So, but it's getting better and better. Like this year was the first year where it was like, me and Kevin looked at each other and was like, oh shit, dude, this is legit now.
Yeah.
Like this is cool. We've got
that's a good feeling.
really good players. Everybody for the most part has had DCI or WGI experience still. It's just like, this year's going to be fucking good, man.
Dude, I'm
like,
so excited for you
I'm
guys.
really, it's like a weight off my shoulders to not have like a panic of, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
This year they made me a manager, so I'm helping manage with Kevin to try to take some responsibility off him, because again, he's a middle school band director, 2 young kids, down in the Williamson County kind of area. So I'm right by the stadium. I got a 12-year-old boy who I can just take down there with me.
Yeah.
He gets to see all the cool shit.
Yeah.
Which is a blast for me.
Is he also into music?
Man, he's into whatever floats by in the wind at the time.
Yeah. He's 12.
Yeah, he's just like whatever.
Yeah.
But I just like being able to take him.
Yeah.
Like I took him
That's a
to
cool
our
experience.
first appearance. It was at the stadium, and like I took him and I was like, just hang out over there and watch, and like, because I know what it was like to be a kid and get to go watch my dad play at Opryland Theme Park or Opryland Hotel.
bring it back.
That shit I remember so much as a part of my life and my connection with my dad, to where I want my kid to have those.
Yeah.
That's so special. Yeah.
So whether he's a musician or a football, I don't care, man. Go paint rocks for a living if you love it, but like, come check this cool thing out that your dad gets to do.
Yeah. Dad's pretty cool.
And as he, he's 12, so I've got a couple more years before he doesn't want to spend any time with me. So
cherish it.
if he thinks I'm cool, then maybe he'll think I'm cool then.
Dude.
But it's great. It's fun, man. It's a professional paid gig. You have to approach it like that. You cannot approach it like a fun, I'm going to do whatever I want now. Like, nope, sorry, buddy. Like, do whatever you want within these restrictions, and we're going to have a blast.
Well, again, like back to drum corps and like when you age out, and I just think that, that needs to be, I wanted to hear your perspective on this. It seems like a lot of kids, it's like, okay, well, what do I do? I just spent 4 years or longer on this craft. How do I turn this into a potentially viable career? How do I make money off it? And like these entertainment drum lines are popping up more than ever, right? Sports.
Yeah. Especially, there's
opportunities.
A ton of teams now have drum lines.
Yeah.
All of them kind of come through some kind of pool of DCI players, WGI players. I've actually thought about writing a book about how to apply everything you've learned in DCI and WGI to drum set.
Dude, that's sick.
Like, I wish I had that outlet, because it's still something I'm chasing, and it's not an out of reach thing. It's just a completely different approach to how to apply the things, because you have to, like, drum corps fucked up my drum set playing for a long time because I didn't have feel and I didn't have the push and pull. You know, I didn't have that emotion to my playing. It was just, I can play in time, motherfuckers. Check this out.
Yeah.
Like that does a little bit for you,
Right.
for the listener. But how to like deprogram myself into playing like a human and having that push and pull ability with the thing that I studied on, the click, you know, the metronome and all these, you know, like for me, when I hear rhythms, I don't hear rhythms. I hear the space between the rhythms. That's why bass drum was so easy for me, is because I could split rhythms because, you know, if you play this, I just heard everything in between what you played and now I can fill it in.
Right. Yeah, you have to hear the composite.
Yes, you try to master the space between the notes to be able to play the notes correctly.
Wow.
So doing that on drum set, like applying those exercises. And again, like I was saying, there's so many endless variations of just a 16th note, one note timing. You know, we haven't got to 2-note timing. We haven't got to triple beat. We haven't got to triplet exercises. Like the book would be fucking enormous.
Yeah.
But
Bible.
just you don't even have to write that. You just have to plant that seed in someone's head and go, okay, took everything you just learned from those 4 years of, and the financial investment you made into those years to march. These are ways you can apply them now.
Yeah.
And these are the things that they could teach you to be a professional musician.
That'd be so valuable. I hope you do write that book.
I hope
want to.
someone,
Yeah.
I don't even care if it's me. I just hope somebody
cool.
that has gone through that process, that is a professional drummer, also can think about those things. You know, because I don't know if there are. I'm sure there is. But
I just hate to see these young students that are so talented in that moment, they age out, and it's like.
No, but it's a massive part of your life that you've invested.
You shouldn't just throw it away. Like you can learn and grow from it, and join the Titans Drumline. You know.
Yeah, I mean, everything. Like when I teach us with the Titans, everything that I try to explain to people is based on a groove, because if it's not a groove, the people that you're playing for don't get it.
Right.
You know, you're playing for people who aren't drummers. They're just common people. Right.
Going to a football game.
Even though we're playing very advanced rudimental stuff, okay, you learn to feel it with a halftime groove behind it and underneath it the whole time, because that's what your body's going to have to show them how to feel it as, and then they will feel it. And then everyone has more fun with it.
Yeah.
So I've applied that detraining myself from drum corps and how to find the groove and things and the humanity in playing again into how I teach.
Yeah.
And how I apply it with the Blue Crew, because everything we play with the Blue Crew is all groove based. Even if it is like, you know, cheese fives and all sorts of crazy shit that we're playing rudimentally, like they don't care about that. That's just for us to have fun. Yeah. They just want to feel the groove and be able to dance to it. So how do we implement those two things together?
Yeah.
Hey drummers, do you need a place in Nashville to practice on actual drums? Drumbox is Nashville's newest drum practice studio. Book sessions online and get the space to yourself. It's fully equipped with 2 kits, cymbals, hardware, and even sticks are provided. 30-minute, 1-hour, and 2-hour sessions are available at www.drumbox.space and use the coupon code NDP25 for 25% off your first session. Again, that's www.drumbox.space.
Well, Blue Man Group, I auditioned for in like 2010 or 11.
Yeah.
And it was one of the weirdest experiences
in New York.
I've ever. Yeah. Well, it was open auditions here.
Oh,
and
really?
I called out of work sick and went down.
It's like my idol, Blue Man Group. Like I never really thought to audition, but like
it was mine too.
Yeah.
But it changed.
Shit, is the coolest thing.
It like, dude, I swear to God, they just
what did they do to you?
They spent a lot of money just to fuck with people.
Really?
Like it was. I look back on it now and it's like, man, those guys are brilliant.
Yeah.
But we were doing shit where it was like the first audition, like when you go and it's here in Nashville and it's open call, they're like, all right, we're gonna, you know, after they call you back, after you have to be like a certain height and a kind of build, and you have to have big buggy eyes. And they were like, okay, we want you to get with this guy who's a blue man. Like he's an actual guy who's there. And I want you to look at him. This is in front of like 6 judges. They're like, look at him and tell him that his dog is drowning. But you can't say a word. You can't move your mouth. You can only tell him with your eyes. Ready, go. And I'm just like,
Yeah,
I'm looking at this guy and he's looking at me, and I swear to God, he's trying not to laugh the whole time.
Yeah.
And he's just, looking at me with these fucking giant eyes, and I'm like,
that's incredible.
You're dumb. It was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And everyone at the table, the judges were just like they were really into it.
Yeah.
It was like, fuck
They're
you,
like, no,
dudes.
we're not
Like, this
feeling
has
it.
got to
No.
be for fun. This has got to be. So.
I mean, yeah, it's really, it's acting. I mean, well, because there's the band, and then because you were auditioning for obviously the actual Blue
like
Man.
being a dude in blue.
I would have probably just done drum set, but
well, I mean, I was never expecting anything to come of it.
Yeah.
And then
so
I'm
cool
at
that
dinner
you did
with my
that.
wife, and I get a phone call, and they're like, hey, we want to fly you to New York. We really liked you. I was like, okay. So they flew 3 of us from Nashville to Astoria, New York, where their theater is. They put us up in
That's my
hotel
first show.
rooms.
Yep.
And there was 9 of us there, and we were there for a week. There were 6 other people from New York, and then 3 of us from Nashville. The 3 of us from Nashville were the only people that were drummers. Everybody else was an actor. And so we get there, and I'm like, this is fucking rad. This is cool. I'm looking around at all the stuff in their rehearsal facility, and then it just got weird.
So at that point, you weren't in yet. It was like,
oh no,
here's
no,
the next round
this is the next round of auditions.
like the study, yeah.
And it was broken up into 3 blocks a day, and we'd spend the morning block with one of the producers, and we learned 3 or 4 of the actual pieces for the show. And that's what we would learn the whole time. But we would work with different people from their production on those pieces. So we were getting a different perspective every time, with the person. And so we'd spend, the morning block with this producer, and they'd be like, okay, don't look like a bird, don't look like that. You're, walk this way, don't walk like this. And we'd be like, okay. So we'd spend the whole rehearsal block practicing this piece the way they wanted us to.
Yeah.
And then after lunch, we'd go in and we'd be with the dude who created Blue Man Group. And he'd be like, don't do that. Do this, which is what the person before was telling us not to do. They'd be like, no, you have to look around like you're curious. You're a being from a different place. Of course you want to look. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah. Now you're telling us.
Did you ever tell them, hey, just so you know, every time you give us a direction, it's the opposite of what the guy in the last.
No, because I was just I want to make it. I don't know.
Were they trying to just test you?
Were they trying to see what we were capable of handling?
Because that's the show is adapting. And
yeah.
A lot of it's in the moment stuff, right?
And it was it was like that every
crazy
block. It was different information about how we were supposed to be a Blue Man.
And they were judging literally every muscle,
everything
you did.
Yeah. The way that we would react to everything, our eyes, the way we would move our shoulders.
Stressful.
Dude, the whole time we were there for a week. We got together with their drum coach for maybe 45 seconds. Maybe.
Because they knew you could play. I mean, that wasn't even.
What they told us was we could teach a monkey how to play. We don't care if you're a drummer.
Oh, there you
we
go.
We preferred if you went to clown school. That's what we were told.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. They wanted people that
so
went to clown school that had zero drumming experience.
That is fucking wild.
And when that happened, I was like, that took all the wind out of my sails.
Yeah.
Man.
I was just like, are you fucking kidding me?
That's too bad.
This is a drum show, man.
Nope. They don't give a fuck if you can play drums. That's what we were told. It might be different now.
Yeah, it's
I don't want it Blue Man is awesome. It's entertaining.
About the shows,
but
I mean, the drumming can be taught, and a lot of that drumming isn't hard, but a lot of it is fast 16th notes. That's not just
I can tell you this. It's a lot hard. Watching the stuff.
I'm sure if it's evolved.
Because there were guys in and out all the time, actual Blue Men that would be rehearsing while we were there.
Yeah.
And watching the stuff that they were doing, to any drummer out there, you'd be like, it's more important to be able to play rhythms than it is to be able to act like, something that it doesn't seem like they know what it is either.
Yeah.
Right.
And they would have us do these exercises that were just, dude, it was like they were fucking with us. I'm serious.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
It sounds like, it's interesting because I wonder how much was it them fucking with you, how much was intentional hyperbole, and then because obviously no, you probably couldn't teach a monkey to do this. But they may have been like, but we want to like drill it into your head that the mindset is the drumming is secondary. It's all about the show.
Yeah.
Like, which, because I know like there are some killer drummers who are a part of that thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's interesting, man. What a wild experience.
Dude, it was... And
so it kind of turned you off leaving that?
Well, that turned me off. And then the other thing that turned me off was I was talking to one of the guys who was an actual Blue Man, because we were just told that they were auditioning for a cast for a new show. They didn't tell us where. Well, I was talking to this super bug-eyed Blue Man dude. Like, I'm just different. I'm telling you, man, when I say bug-eyed, like all these dudes they were popping out of their fucking heads. But I get why. I mean, when you're covered in blue and black, like that's what's telling the story. But I'm talking to this guy, and he's like, yeah, man, we don't stay anywhere. Like they have like 100-something Blue Men that are on constant rotation all over the world.
God. Yeah.
So you
like
might
sleeper agent Blue Men.
Dude,
it sounds like a freaking like Willy Wonka factory.
Yeah, like it's never the same people ever.
Well,
Like,
they were sort of recently bought by Cirque du Soleil. I wonder if that's changed things too.
I
think that was during COVID.
I don't know. But all I know is this guy was like, yeah, you know, for 3 weeks you might be in France, in Paris for the show there. And then they'll be like, hey, this guy got sick over here. We're going to fly you to Bangkok.
Oh my God.
So, and I was like, I just got married. Like, I want to start a family.
Yeah.
And the new show that was opening up was somewhere in like Thailand. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Like, this has been the most confusing experience for me. And now, like, if I want to start a family, I can't because I know where home is.
Yeah.
Right.
And you trap, like, if I was single and didn't have any of that, like, yeah, this would seem cool to travel,
Right.
but like, that's just not what I wanted in my
Now
life.
my son's going to be blue. I don't want this kid.
Yeah.
But we got to, like, at the end, we got to get all done up. Like, I got a picture, I think I sent it to you guys, where their crew, the people who do it, like, we were dressed exactly how they did it for the performance. Yeah. And we performed the pieces for all the like production guys and the creators of Blue Man for them to see what they do. They didn't take a single one of us.
Damn.
They spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars getting us all there, hotels, flights, and they didn't take any of us. And they do that every month.
Yeah. That's
All,
an elite.
they're always doing that, trying to find new
But like you said, there's a brilliance behind that. If you've been to a show, I mean, it's just killer. I mean, it's a good show.
Yeah,
right?
and they were saying, like, you might you show up to the show and you didn't know it, but the creator of Blue Man's going to play this role. Like, these guys knew, because there's always 3 parts, and everyone learns all 3 parts. So it's a constant rotating in and out of who's playing what part. Everyone just knows it because they're all the same.
Wow.
But you don't know who you're going to be playing it with. So you don't, like, and since you're blue, you don't know that that's the creator of the show that you just did it with.
Yeah, they all look the same. Yeah.
Dude, honestly, that's sick. That's sick.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, to
wild.
like go through that audition process, like, it was confusing as hell.
That's so weird. That's so. I've never heard of an organization like this. It's that's so
I mean,
bizarre.
you made a good reference. It's like, it was like a Willy Wonka weird experience of like,
You guys sound like
this is a different kind of
almost.
brilliance of like, if they were just fucking with us the whole time, kudos, because
that was a major fuckery.
That was really good, guys.
Yeah, that was well done. Because I have no idea what was going.
Yeah, like
any of that.
Like, that was, I don't know what I just did for a week, but it was a great experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful that I didn't make it.
Yeah.
Because I did not want that to be my reality.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, that's just
cool
not what I'm.
experience, though. Yeah.
But it was cool.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've shared this with anybody here, but before I came to Nashville, I did a job interview for a Blue Man Group, but for like their marketing,
Nice.
like not performance in any way. And I was like, I felt like I was like right there. It was like a social media gig, and I was living in Indianapolis, and it was like a normal interview. But I remember, the whole like I blew myself campaign that happened. Mm-hmm. So I literally said that in the interview. I was like thinking I was like cool.
Yeah.
And maybe I was. I don't know.
You
like
were.
My,
you know what? Did
my
you feel
I blew
cool?
myself moment was. They're like, oh, this fucking guy. But yeah, I was actually kind of pissed. I went through the whole process, and it was super respectful and all that. Not talking bad about anybody, but I ended up like finding out that I think something like the pay was too high or something, or but that was never discussed. And I was like, oh, I would have done this gig for less money. I really wanted to.
Well, they left out information for you that sounds like them.
Yeah. It was like, wait, I would have done this. What's going on? Like, but yeah, I don't know. I mean,
it is a very big oiled machine operation. Like, I had no idea.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is insane. I think I remember them saying there's like 130 something actual Blue Men.
Wow.
That just constantly are traveling, rotating, playing. It's just everyone is built the same, looks the same. It's the whole concept of it not having an individual identity. It's just that is what it is. So they have the availability to do that, and
kind of like drum corps, right?
How it was, yeah.
Yeah, how it used to, yeah.
But it's brilliant. It's a brilliant business model. I mean, to be able to do that, like, hey, we don't need to have, it doesn't matter how you look. Well, it does in terms of build, but it's like, who cares if you're pretty? You know, all the little things.
Oh, you're sick? Oh, bring in number 37.
Yeah, it's just what an easy security way to make sure your thing is constantly running.
Yeah, however you need with all those shows, and like you said, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Vegas. I mean,
they as far as a business goes, it's genius. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's really interesting.
But as a drummer and a fan of that, and still a fan of it, I was blown away by how little to no drumming matters in the process. It does when you're there, but it's like,
that would have been phenomenally disappointing to experience.
Yeah, big time. And like that was like almost to the end of the audition process when that realization came to me, and I was just like, all right, this is cool. My brother was living in New York at the time, so I was like, at least I get to, like, it's a free trip to New York. Yeah. You know, I get to paint myself up. This is cool. Take pictures. Great experience.
Yeah.
Learned a lot about what I wasn't, that lifestyle.
Well, that's just as valuable, right? Knowing what you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where you don't belong. And
same thing with like touring, like being I played with a touring country group for 2 years, and it's like, this is cool because the money was awesome. And I got to play with the bass player that I played with in a band. Like, he was the bass player. He got me the gig. And, you know, I was running the same track through Ableton, same shtick between songs. Invested a ton of myself into playing the parts perfectly. It was so easy for me because I've been practicing to tracks and clicks. So, like, that aspect of it was nothing but, like, not... my soul hurt.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was playing like Disney country. It's the best way I could describe it. It was good, but it was like bubblegum.
Yeah.
It was just like, go ahead. Like, fuck this, man. I need to play something fast.
I'm going to lay down in a hole, just shoot me in the back of the head.
Yeah. It's like fast. I need to play something fast and aggressive so I can be a calm person in my life.
Yes.
Like, I need that outlet. This isn't my outlet. So I don't care to get a gig. I don't care if I ever get a gig again. If I tour, I don't want to. I just want to play punk rock in a garage with friends.
Hell yeah.
No pressure, for fun.
Dude, let's go.
Man. I mean, to bring it back to, again, like being that national drummer that's not doing the typical country tours and more typical artist gigs. How have you kind of handled that pressure, if there is pressure? I mean, it sounds like you're super comfortable with where you are and who you are. And
like,
I think that's super admirable.
What really did it for me was, when I was dating my wife, she was a part of this thing called the Music Mafia. It was put on by the guys from Big and Rich, because she worked as in a personal assistant to one of those guys. And they had this, it was a very cool grassroots thing that they would do, like every Wednesday night or something at whatever club. It was to showcase new artists that they were finding. And like, that's how like Gretchen Wilson got her start, and some other people. James Otto came out of that group too. But it was a really cool thing that my wife was a part of from the beginning. When I met her and started dating her, it was kind of at the end of the Mafia thing, but I got to go to plenty of them. And I got to meet a lot of cool people and become friends with people. But at that time, I was playing in like this thrash punk band. We were signed to this metal label. And like, again, I don't give a fuck about Nashville country. The machine, I just don't care. Like, good for you. I don't care. So, and now all of a sudden, I'm immersed in it.
Yeah.
In like, the term germ.
Yes.
You know, like, it was just a fucking cesspool of that at these things. And it bothered me because there would be this artist that they would find, like this unbelievably great, talented person playing on stage. The room is packed full of people and everyone's trying to fucking sell themselves to somebody else. No one's paying attention to this amazing artist. I'm getting goosebumps remembering it because like this is their opportunity.
Right.
They're playing, they got picked by the guys from Big and Rich to play, and there's always guest artists there like Marty Stewart or whoever, like big name people are always there. So this is a big deal to whoever's on stage. And no one's paying a fucking bit of attention to it. And it pissed me off.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I would go to these things and I had a big mohawk that I always spiked up. I stuck out like a sore thumb. Yeah. I did not belong there. It was very clear. And, you know, everyone knew I was a drummer, but I never talked about myself. I never wanted to get up and play. Like, cause it was like, you know, a big open jam, you know, like there's, everyone can come up and play. It was just like, nope, I don't give a fuck. I don't want to do it. Yep. I just want to watch this artist.
Yeah.
And it was just, it just kind of solidified what Nashville was for me. And, you know, my dad never really had, he always had the carrot dangled in his face, and it was always, you know, came to no fruition. Yeah. So I kind of grew up in a household where I was always told, you know, you need to learn what it's really like. Like, it's not fucking bubble gums and sugar plums like a lot of people say it is.
Yeah.
Like, look, which camera is on me? Like
a bunch.
Like, I'm not trying to get a fucking gig. This town, if you don't prepare yourself for the reality of what it's like to try to make it here, it's going to eat you the fuck up. And that's where the mental health thing comes in. Like, your buddies, your group of dudes that you go play with and hang out with, they will take your gig as soon as it's offered to them. They will. It's happened. It's happened to me. Yep. It's happened to a lot of people I know. That happens. Yep. The artist you're playing for that hires you, they probably don't give a fuck about you. You're a dude that is hired to play for them. As soon as there's something about you that rubs them the wrong way, you're replaced by one of the other 1,000 people that are just as good as you, that look just as good. They're here to do that. It's a piranha feeding pool.
100%.
But again, that's not, I'm not saying it like a negative thing. That's just something you need to know, that if you're going to come here to do it, you need to prepare yourself for the reality of feeling like you're not good enough, that you can't trust people, that it's a hard industry to make it in. You can make it in it, and it can be beautiful and prosperous
you're saying,
for you.
You need to have that thick skin, ultimately.
You need to live in the reality that this is a hard town. It can be.
Yeah.
You know, and if you can do that and you can know, like, okay, I have to network the shit out of myself. When I was working at the old drumstick place, I had so many people that were here to play music.
Yeah.
And I would talk to them about this stuff. And a lot of them went on to do great. And they would tell me later, like, yeah, dude, a lot of the stuff that you told me, I took to heart, and I kind of prepared for those things to happen. Yeah. And they always happened. But I'm not saying like I know something that other people don't or whatever. That's not the case. It's just I saw it happen with my dad. It happened to me. Like, I saw it happen at these music mafia things. It was like, it's just, you're not going to stroll into town and get that gig. It can happen to some people. It does. That does happen. But the reality is it's going to be hard, and your self-worth, your personal self-worth that you have for yourself is going to be tested.
It's 1,000%. You must develop robust mental health. To deal with some of the things. And the way even just coming here and just being good, it's just not enough. But like you said, you can get lucky and something can just happen and fall in your lap. But if you come here expecting to get lucky and for something to fall in your lap, if you expect not to run into if you're unprepared for people to be totally fake with you, and you're and you can't tell you will get your ass kicked in this town. Like, it can happen for sure. It's brutal, but just knowing that there's 100 people or 500 or 1,000 people in town ready to do the exact thing that you're doing
for less,
they're ready to like, that's,
be prepared.
Yeah, and like
and like really like be the best that you can be at that thing. Be a good hang and then kick ass at whatever you're doing.
But know that at any moment you need to be able to have something on the back burner for whatever your next plan is.
Yes.
Whether it's waiting tables, whether it's this other artist you met, whatever it is, like if you come here to push yourself as a business, because that's essentially what you are, then you need to always be 3-4 steps ahead in your plan of if this happens, I can do this. If this happens, I can do this. I want this to happen. It's happening right now, but I'm going to hold on to these few things just in case. Like you just have to approach it like you just have to be ready.
That's such valuable advice. Yeah. One of my favorite quotes from Marcus Finney.
God, he's good.
Dude, yeah. He actually, we got drinks one night, and because I was actually going through something similar, kind of what you're describing, of just like an artist gig, and then all of a sudden I'm not on that same artist gig. I was like left wondering why. And like you said, like you're replaceable just like that. Dude. Like, but he was saying unless you're the one writing the checks, it's not your gig. Yeah. And that really hit me. It was like, damn.
Yeah.
Like that's true for a 9-to-5 job. I mean, you're always replaceable.
Yeah. Well, when I was playing in the country band, I won't name them because it didn't end well. I was replaced and never told.
Whoa.
Yeah. I was still on the calendar to get the gig updates, and everything as far as I knew was good. I know I was playing the parts right. And I sent a text the night of bus call, like, hey, what time are we meeting? And still no response. And then my bass player buddy was like, no one called you? I was like, what the fuck is going on? He's like, yeah, because there was like a 2-week stint where I couldn't do a tour, like some gigs. So I had my buddy sub for me.
Oh, they gave it to him?
Yep. My buddy didn't call me to tell me. See, they had been having rehearsals as a full band. My buddy didn't call me to tell me. They didn't have management or a band leader. Everyone just assumed somebody was going to tell me.
That's hurtful.
It was a massive financial blow.
Yeah.
I was fucking furious at these guys because it was a typical like, I love you, bro. Oh man, thank you. Like just fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
And I was just let go. And then finally, when one of them had the balls to call me, he was just like, he apologized for the way it was handled. He was like, look, they're going more pop and you're more of a rock dude. And, I mean, honestly, like it was killing my soul anyways. So no love lost. But
right. That's the thing. Like often those changes do make sense, but the way that it's handled really matters.
Yeah. Right. Like I was budgeting for the month,
Yeah.
with the money I was getting that weekend. And, just like that, like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Wow.
But to your point, that is what someone new coming here needs to understand. That happens. That's very common.
Yeah, and it was because the other drummer was buddies with the keyboard player.
Yeah, right.
Like it had nothing to do with like skill.
Yeah.
I mean, like it was just that's just the way this town works.
Yeah, and this whole industry,
Yeah, it's not just the town. It's the whole music industry.
Whole craft, yeah.
You could be with a developing artist that you guys started the band together, a great female singer or guy singer. You come to town, you're not the thing that the label's going to sell. Whoever the singer is who they're going to sell. And as soon as they sign that singer and they say, hey, we want to get you a new band because we just want to work with you because you're what we're going to sell, that singer's not going to go, no, I'm going to pass on this deal because I'm loyal to this band.
Yeah.
Very rarely
my
will
high
that
school
happen.
bass player, he needs to be in, they don't give a fuck.
Right. It's, hey, the label wants to get a new band.
Yeah.
And you're done. And you've invested however many years of your life helping this artist get to that point. Doesn't matter anymore. That's just the reality of the business. You can't come to this town without fucking having some reality in your head about what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
And that takes a massive mental toll on you.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that because, I mean, we've interviewed some guests that have maybe hit some success early on. And, it's kind of, especially with social media, the detriment there is like we just see those wins,
Yeah.
Often like this stuff doesn't get talked about. We had a thing with Ben Wood on mental health, and so, I appreciate you bringing that up.
Man, I listen to podcasts a lot.
It's not all glory.
What bothers me on a lot of podcasts is, and this is no offense to the people that do it, like they're doing what they need to do to sell themselves as a product. A lot of times, and that's cool. Like you have to do that. I get it, but man, like fucking tell the truth about the shit that sucks so people can learn from that and hopefully help them grow in that area.
Yeah.
You know, because that's important. Like, who do you have to fall back on when your group of friends isn't as close as you thought they were because they're on that gig now?
Yeah.
You know, you move to a new town that's full of great people, super friendly, super awesome buddies. Everyone loves each other. They just took your gig.
Yeah.
What are you going to do now that you're by yourself? You know, like, fucking talk to people about that shit, because you shouldn't give up when that happens. And you're going to want to, because you're going to feel like it's you. It's not you. It's the industry. It's the way that this town works. Like, if anything, go, okay, I've learned a lesson. My lessons that I had to learn were not to invest so much of myself. Like with that country gig, I was paid to show up and be the drummer and to play drums the best that I could. I didn't need to help the merch guy set his stuff up every night and tear it down, but I did. Yeah. I didn't have to help the sound guy unload the trailer and set up the sound stuff and break it down every night, but I did, because I'm a band guy. Yeah. I want to be there and I want to help people.
Yeah. You see the back to drum corps, you see the unit.
I see the unity of everyone being selfless to make this thing work the best. And I thought that meant something. It didn't, because you're just the dude they hired and they wanted somebody else. And like the advice I would give someone that was coming here is, it might sound negative, but it's do the absolute best job you possibly can without investing more than what's needed for your job.
Yeah.
You know, if you are supposed to run the tracks, you don't need to go in and modify the tracks and add stuff or do anything. You just got to press the space bar and start the show. Somebody else should be doing that if that's what you talked about before you joined. Like, don't let yourself take on responsibilities that aren't a part of what you should be doing already, because in the long run, you're going to feel more hurt because you gave more of yourself to something that didn't matter. That's not saying don't go into it and be professional and good. It's just be real with what you're going into.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to go into the military and go, I'm not going to see anything in this.
Right.
You're going to see some shit.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, don't go into this gig thinking that it's going to be fucking awesome the whole time and shit's not going to hurt. It does. What are you going to do when that happens?
Right.
Dude, that's good.
You know?
Yeah, there's this really cool practice that I like to employ. I learned it from a guy named Tim Ferriss, whose podcast I love. Taylor's given the, yep, that's right. But it's called fear setting. He's like, rather than the goal setting, his goal setting is cool, but fear setting is vital. It's you come up with what your worst case scenario is, and then you just work for mitigating those risks. And that's it. Well, the worst thing that could happen would be this and this and this. It probably won't be those things, but even if it is, I'm prepared for those scenarios.
Right.
And I think that's the big thing that everyone should be doing this all the time. You should definitely be doing it as a professional musician moving to Nashville, fear setting. What's the worst case scenario? And prepare for that thing.
And see, that gets so mislabeled as being negative. No, you're being a realist.
That's just
you're being real.
That's just wisdom.
And it's self-preservation for yourself as whatever you're trying to be, whatever it is.
Yep.
Like, I hate that shit gets mislabeled like that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, people all the time will be like, Corey, you're just an asshole. Or like with the Titans, it'll be like, you know, I had a kid that marched quads for the last few years who, in the middle of our auditions, like, you know, there's a part in the music where we're playing and you have to do individual solos.
Yeah.
And, you know, this dude's been a part of the line for years and he's really good. And he's just like falling apart in his solos and not giving a shit, laughing about it. And I was standing behind him when it happened, and I walked in and I cut everyone off and I was like, this shit should matter. This is an audition. Yeah. You can't just suck and just laugh it off like it's like, no, like there are expectations that you have. Respect yourself as a player and a performer more. You know? And he bailed in the middle of it. He was like, I'm sick of Corey's shit. Damn. It's like, no, dude, what I really wanted was for you to go, he's right. Yeah. I should expect more for myself. I should show up with my A game.
Yeah.
Like, And that's just me being this isn't college. You are a paid professional.
Yeah.
If the cheerleader doesn't want to learn the dance moves right, you think they're going to fucking keep her? No.
Not for 5 minutes.
You're gone.
Yeah.
It's the same kind, like, that's where the good cop, bad cop thing kind of comes in. It's like, no, dude, show up and be professional and relate this to everything else in your life. Not just this.
That's
show up and give the best of you to whatever it is you're doing. Whether it's fucking going to the grocery store, you know what? Put your cart in the grocery cart fucking container. Don't leave it by your car. Be the best version of yourself in whatever you're doing.
How you do one thing is how you do everything. That's one of my favorite quotes.
Man. I tell my kid all the time, like, what makes a person, what builds your character? He's like, what you do when no one's looking. It's like, I'm drive that into his head.
And you're raising him right.
Because that shit should matter. Like, if I get a gig, whether I like the music or not, I'm going to give you the best possible me for that gig. I'm going to show up and I'm going to play the part exactly how it's written. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to fuck around. I'm going to help everybody.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do. That's just how I am, regardless of if it hurts when I get let go or not. Like, that's just what I want to bring to the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Not the same as it ever was. Sonique Drums is the fledgling but fierce drum and percussion manufacturer based out of the Pinery, Colorado. They started their first year in business swinging and continue to punch up at the percussion industry at large. Sonique Drums is designing and manufacturing new, innovative, and better-made percussion accessories like the NATO 1, an industry-first, continually adjustable throw-off, or another industry-first, the 12-point drum key. Sonique Drums also specializes in steam-bent snare drums using domestic and exotic tone woods equipped with all brass hardware. You can demo and buy Sonique Drums original accessories and snares in Nashville at Nelson Drum Shop, or meet them in person at the Music City Drum Show in July. Check them out at soniquedrums.com.
Wrap up questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Why don't you start it?
Okay. Give us some of your favorite Nashville food spots.
Prince's.
Ooh, he's a hot chicken guy.
Now, okay. It's the only,
That might lead us to another question.
Hot chicken. Prince's hot chicken is my
he's
shit.
a local. Yeah.
And the hottest possible.
Correct.
The hottest
That's my
possible
follow-up.
thing you can get
Okay.
with the gloves that you're supposed to wear. Oh, fucking love it.
Gloves. Okay.
Yeah. Like they give it to you and they say, you know, they
a white
bring it
glove
out to
too.
you wearing
Oh,
the
yeah,
black
yeah,
nylon
yeah.
gloves.
Yeah, that's you.
And it fucks me up. And I have really bad nights.
But you love it.
God, it's good. It's so good.
That's like the commercial for Prince's right
Just
there.
like it comes out the same as it goes in, man.
What's your side of choice? We've never asked that.
The bread that's underneath it,
The bread,
that has
'cause
all the
you
hot
eat it?
shit on it.
Yeah.
No,
Dude, that
it's
oil.
it's soaked up in that oil.
Oh,
Dude,
God,
you're
it's the
fucking
best.
savage.
It's hotter than the chicken.
I know. It's so good.
It's
This guy's out of his mind.
And I'm cursing myself the rest of the night and day. Yeah. But it's so good. It's just the flavor, man. It's spices. You know the story about Prince's, how it started.
yeah.
Yeah.
If it's a true story.
If it's a true story, then I like it even more.
Yeah, I do like that. Yeah.
But yeah, Prince's
Trout or bass,
for
He's evolved.
whatever you desire.
I don't fucking know, man.
Yeah, me neither.
Like-
what's your favorite noodle?
Good fallback.
Fettuccine.
All right, fuck
Oh, yeah, that queued up.
Fettuccine. yeah.
See, I wanted to get you to think real hard about something abstract and then give you something real easy.
Come on, give me some more. What do you got? Come on.
Give us, this is a new one. Still Tim Ferriss. Give us the first 60 minutes of your day. What's your morning ritual?
First 60 minutes, I wake up, feed my dogs, take them outside, wait till they shit, go inside, tell my kid to brush his teeth about 900 goddamn times, get him to eat breakfast, and then get him to brush his teeth again because he didn't do it the first time, and then drive to my job.
So you're a morning person, it sounds like.
Oh, I love early mornings. Like when I was on tour in drum corps, when we'd all get to wherever early in the morning and have time to sleep. I was the one who got up and walked around whatever small town we were in to find the coffee shop.
Cool.
So I love early mornings.
Yeah. All right.
And finally, where would you like people to contact / follow you?
I don't care.
Don't talk to him.
No, I've got socials, but I just use them for family. Sure. Again, I'm not trying to sell myself. I don't care. I'm not looking for a gig.
There you go. We're gonna.
I wanted to hear that answer from you. That's why I was so happy to ask it.
Like, Facebook is for my friends. Don't try to add me. I'm not going to accept it. Like, Instagram, I have it to follow my drummer buddies who are, out touring the world and shit. Like, I like to see what they're doing, but I don't give a fuck if you want to follow me or not.
All right.
Nice.
That's how I am.
How about if somebody wants to reach out and ask about your story?
I mean,
kind of like we did.
What's DM?
Yeah.
What's
direct message?
Direct message. Mm-hmm. I was wondering. I was like, what the
email?
Fuck? I mean, I guess if you want, you can do that. I mean, sure. I mean, I'm so open about my experiences and the shit that I've been through. Like, I'm to a point in my life now where I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
If you want to hear my experiences, they're not everyone's experiences, but my experience is what I've learned from it and what I think other people could gain from my experience. I'll tell anyone, whatever. I mean, I could have like 9 of these podcasts that are all 10 parts about a bunch of really weird, random shit, but well, we're going to have you back then. Cool, I do. Yeah, if you want, sure.
Thank you for not sugarcoating. Corey, it was great.
Yeah, man. It's good to see you again. You need to come back.
You too, man. Yeah, I can't wait for a game this year.
Yeah. Come to the game. Fun. Look for the dude who's older than everybody else.
Look for the blue mohawk. That's it. Yeah. Did you guys already do the photo shoots yet?
Oh, yeah.
The cheerleaders?
It was cool. I took my kid to that too, and I got some photos with him. Pretty excited about that.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Good shit.
Cool. All right. That's a wrap.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nashville Drummers Podcast. If you liked it, please consider leaving us a review on the Apple Podcast app. Please consider supporting us on Patreon. For $5 a month, you can help support this dream and keep the ball rolling for us. Believe it or not, it's not free or even necessarily cheap for us to make this thing go. To sign up, go to patreon.com/Nashville Drummers Podcast or click the link in our Instagram bio. All of your help is greatly appreciated.
Visit our website, NashvilleDrummersPodcast.com, where you can listen to all past episodes, learn more about myself and Nate, and buy all your favorite Nashville Drummers Podcast merch, including t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, hats, and drum heads. Connect with us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube at Nashville Drummers Podcast. You must call it a breakthrough.
This episode of the Nashville Drummers Podcast was recorded at Garden Groove Studios.
Tucked away in a private and soundproof studio in East Nashville, Garden Groove was born out of a desire to create a space where musicians, entertainers, teachers, and learners could come together. Garden Groove offers a quiet and relaxed environment for creativity to thrive and grow.
Their mission is seeded to fostering creativity and collaboration among musicians of all levels. In addition to a state-of-the-art recording space, they also offer a range of events and workshops to inspire and connect the community.
Recording, mixing, and mastering services start at just $45 an hour, and professional audio engineering services available for an additional $25 an hour. And exclusive discounts for newsletter subscribers, 25% off your first session when you subscribe.
Visit garden-groove.com to learn more and book a session. That's garden-groove.com.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.